1 minute to air. Starting to stream.
Recording stopped. Recording in progress.
That's what happens when you change the interpreters. You get that announcement. That's what if they don't understand, explain it so they know.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, good evening. We have a full house in here tonight on a Monday night. We welcome you all. We'd like to call the Durham City Council meeting to order for this, what is today's date, everybody? The 20th day of February, 2023, here at 7 p.m. here in City Hall. We certainly want to welcome all of you who are in attendance and those joining us remotely as well. So at this time, if you would, please join me in a moment of silent meditation so that we may orient ourselves to the task before us. Thank you all so much. I now turn to my council colleague Freeman, who will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you. It's our practice to stand and salute the flag. Thank you.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, if you would please call the roll.
Mayor O'Neill,
I am present.
Mayor Pro Tem Middleton,
I'm here.
Councilmember Caballero,
Here.
Councilmember Freeman,
Present.
Councilmember Halsey-Hyman,
Present.
Councilmember Johnson,
Here.
and Councilmember Williams.
Present.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. We have a couple of ceremonial items that we also have announcements, but I would like to start the announcement, and then I'll come back later at the end to recognize a person that I met as a student at North Carolina Central University in 1982 when I was in his economics class. Professor E. Victor Maafo. Is Professor Maafo in the audience? Professor Maafo by the way, I got C's out of his class. I did not pass with flying colors. I saw my way out of that. I did. He's a tough professor. But he turned 96 on February 11th. And he also had a special birthday on January 4th of 2023. After living in Durham for 60 years and educating so many young people, including myself, he became a United States citizen. He will be a newly registered voter, and he's looking forward to casting his first ballot as a citizen during the 2023 Durham municipal election. I have a couple of gifts for my professor. One, a flower I purchased for him because I wanted him to have his flowers while he's still living, and some gifts from the city of Durham.
Madam Mayor, I hope you'll correct the record. He looks nothing near 96.
And still very much teaching. We stay in contact. We're in the second generation in my family. He's my son's play godfather, and he's still very active in doing all the things that I hope to be doing at 96. God bless you, my professor. I love you dearly. So I will turn now to my left, to see if there are any announcements on this end from council.
Good evening to my colleagues, to Mayor and Mayor Pro Tem, my colleagues, and to the residents of Durham. And again, I want to look like you at 96 and teaching. I'm an assistant professor at Central, and I'm already gray-haired, so hopefully I'll look like you, and again, welcome. I just wanted to make two announcements. One, as we end up Black History Month, I just want us to also think about some of the youth that are in our city. This week has been very heavy on my heart. I was able to attend the funeral of the young gentleman who was killed at Hillside, and also to be able to look at the play, State of Emergency. And our youth are talking to us, and they're saying that they need help, they need mentoring, and they need us to step up. And so as I spoke at the funeral, I talked to them about non-retaliation, but actually not letting his life be in vain, and to not hopefully pick up a gun, but pick up a book, pick up a job application. And I also spoke to the parents. It takes a village to raise these kids today. And so I asked them to also step up. And so I will tell you at the end of my speech, which kind of didn't even think I was gonna get up and talk, but it was very emotional, and some of those young men came and hugged me. And so that means they want help, and they need somebody to look at them as people and to wrap services around them. So again, I'm asking for the residents of Durham to mentor someone, one of the youth, mentor them. They need it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Hyman, Jose Hyman. And I am out of order, so I've been told that's different from the script that I have here. I have missed our ceremonial items, so we're going to go back to those, and then we'll pick up with our announcement. Our first proclamation this evening will be presented by Councilwoman Johnson, who will read the Black History Month proclamation, and that will be followed by the GoDurham Million Miller Club that will be read by Councilwoman Javiera.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for the opportunity to read this proclamation. Whereas Dr. Carter G. Woodson, the father of Black history, introduced Negro History Week in 1926, which was later extended in 1976 to Black History Month. And whereas African Americans have made innumerable contributions that have enriched America and indeed the lives of every American. And whereas during Black History Month, we celebrate the many achievements and contributions made by African Americans to the economic, political, cultural, and spiritual development of this country. And whereas the 2023 national theme for the observance of Black History Month is Black Resistance, which emphasizes the importance of acknowledging our country's painful history and how African Americans have resisted and endured since the nation's earliest days. And whereas the observance of Black History Month calls our attention the continued need to battle racism and build a society that lives up to its democratic ideals. And whereas the City of Durham continues to work toward becoming an even more inclusive community in which all residents, past, present, and future, are respected and recognized for their contributions to our community, the state, the country, and the world. And whereas the City of Durham is proud to honor the history of contributions of African Americans. Now, therefore, I, Elaine M. O'Neill, Mayor of the City of Durham, North Carolina, do hereby proclaim February 2023 as Black History Month in Durham, and encourage all residents to listen to Black voices, learn about Black experiences, confront racism, end biased decision-making, condemn inequities, and join together to celebrate the diverse heritage and culture of Black Americans as we work as one to create a Durham that is more just, equitable, and inclusive for all. Thank you. Madam Mayor, do we have someone to speak on the proclamation? Or
I I believe it's going to be Miss Sharon Williams.
Awesome. I will be handing the mic over to Sharon Williams, our Director of our Department of Equity and Inclusion.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Johnson. Actually, we're accepting it by two members of the Racial Equity Commission. I'm Sharon Williams. I'm the Director of Equity and Inclusion for the City of Durham, and they are joining me today to accept it. Please introduce yourselves.
My name is Ramya Sricharanam Krishna, and I am the co-chair of the Racial Equity Commission.
And my name is Jada Richardson. I'm a commission member for the same organization.
So at the outset, I would like to say that we stand on the shoulders of giants. The work that we do today in terms of making decisions in concert with residents, community leaders, city council members, county commissioners. It's all based on the work that was done before, the work that got us to Black History Month in the first place, and the work that we celebrate not only every Black History Month, but every day. The work that we honor every day through our actions, through our thoughts, and through our beliefs, and through continuously learning how to be more just. And for that, I am grateful and honored to be here and accept the award along with Jada and my fellow Racial Equity Commission members who may not be here today, but are with us in spirit. Thank you.
Councilwoman Caballero, I believe your proclamation will be presented to Mr. Matthew Wren, who's the Transit Service Director for GoDurham.
Thank you to the mayor for letting me read this evening. I just want to go ahead and acknowledge some amazing folks right behind me. There's a lot of you, so if you could go ahead and stand up so we can honor you this evening. Whereas Durham will recognize individuals and employees for their outstanding achievements and contributions to the community, 16 GoDurham bus operators have achieved an amazing and very rare safety milestone. And whereas these operators are recognized as a dedicated, reliable, and skilled professional bus operator working for GoDurham to serve the residents and visitors of the city of Durham in a safe, reliable, and courteous manner. And whereas safety is GoDurham's most important priority, and whereas these individuals have operated a 40-foot fixed route transit bus in revenue service while serving passenger bus stops, boarding, and alighting customers in a busy, uncontrolled environment for a minimum of 1 million miles driven without incurring a single preventable accident, and whereas these employees are credited with a combined total of safe, preventable, accident-free service of over 329 years. Now, therefore, I, Elaine M. O'Neill, Mayor of the City of Durham, North Carolina, do hereby proclaim February 20th, 2023 as GoDurham Million Miler Club in Durham, and hereby urge all residents to take special note of this observance. Witness my hand and the corporate seal of the City of Durham, North Carolina, this the 20th day of February, 2023. And I think, Mr. Wren, you have some comments?
Good evening, everyone. I can't tell you the honor I get to work with these fine individuals every day, day in and day out, knowing that they provide a safe and reliable service out there to the city of Durham. It means a lot that they're here tonight, and this is all about them. This is not about me. This is about their accomplishments every day, and I'm very proud to work with you all. If you could, I'd like for you all to come up and just state your name and how long you've been with GoDurham.
And if you would, as you come down, if you will come to the front so that we can get a good picture of everybody together.
Ada Lloyd, 22 years.
Jeffrey Peaks, 18 years.
Howard Foster, 18 years.
Frank Burgess Jr., 26 years.
Tracy Scott, 19 years.
Gary Lennon, 24 years.
Percival Patterson, 25 years.
Adolfo Gomez, 19 years.
Kirk Mitchell, 24 years.
Johnny Tyndall, 21 years.
Tanya Burnett, 24 years.
Antonio Thompson, 18 years.
Jeffrey Woods, 14 years.
Thank you all so very much. I just heard our Mayor Pro Tem say you all have literally driven to the moon and back a couple of times. So thank you all. There are really no words that can adequately express what you all do on a daily basis when you have driven so long and so many miles accident-free. Not many people can say that in a car when they're just by themselves, but to think that you are carrying the general public that safety, that well for so long, there are no words that can really say thank you for what you are doing for the city of Durham. And I just thought that we needed to have that picture up there that you see so that Durham and beyond can see we have a 1,000,000-mile club, accident-free here in Durham City. Bull City strong. Bull City. Thank you all. Thank you all. And you're welcome to stay with us, but I'm sure you don't want to stay with us because because you all have to get up bright and early in the morning. So thank you all for coming. I was wondering, you all look fantastic tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you all.
Mayor, I need to know, how do I get one of those jackets? But I think I can't get one because I drive too crazy.
Wow, that's a great way to start off our evening tonight together. I did have a request. I wanted to at least recognize that I had an email request from Ms. Seibel about trying to move some of the agenda around to accommodate our public speakers, but we have a lot of public speakers tonight, and I think we have speakers on each agenda item, so there's really no way for us to do that. But it is one of the things that I've talked with Mayor Pro Tem about, how we can figure out a way to move it along so that the public speakers are not in here with us to, although I know you all love being here with us, I know you'd rather not be in here till 11 o'clock at night and 10:30 like sometimes we have to do. But it's not really a way. I did not answer you by email because I needed to get here to see exactly what we had in store, and I was hoping to be able to accommodate it. But we literally have speakers on every item tonight that's on the item for public hearing, and I don't see a way that we can move that around at this point. Yes, ma'am. But we will try to move swiftly and expeditiously with the things that we have. And as we grow closer to the 9 o'clock hour when we have to take our break, we will revisit that and see if we can accommodate our citizens who are here tonight and wish to speak to us at that point in time. All right, so I will again turn to my left to see if there are any further announcements from council on this end. Councilman Williams.
Thank you. I literally just put a piece of candy in my mouth. So, pardon me. Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's been mentioned, but I wanted to shout out the Hillside High School community. I want to, thank them for inviting me to serve as a panelist during the Q&A session after each play. I don't know if I've shed this many tears in one weekend, but there's something emotional when we have such a crisis in a specific area in our community, and those who are being affected by it most are our youth, but it's also our youth that are crying out with the best solutions. So I just want to say before the public that, as my colleague, Councilmember Hosey Hyman, stated, they're crying out with expectations, they're crying out with demands, they're also crying out with solutions, and all we have to do is listen to them. That's on us as a community, on us as stakeholders and elected leaders, but also as parents and families and households. We have to start showing affection again. We have to love again, openly, and sometimes it's going to be tough, and we're losing some of the traditional practices that worked in the community. We've gotten in some sense, a bit innovative, quote unquote, with how we are communitizing, and we just need to go back to what worked. So the kids at Hillside High School, I've called on every major media outlet, especially the ones that love to sensationalize the gun violence, to show this play on their network. And we'll see if the ratings supersede the expectations of these students. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Williams, I'll turn to my right to see if I have any announcements from colleagues on this end. Councilwoman Freeman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. If I could just take a personal point of privilege and just sharing a little bit of backstory to what I'm about to talk about. I want to say that I don't talk about it much because it still hurts. But I will say that in 1997, it was the last time I saw my aunt, my mother's sister. And this weekend, a post ran, or I should say a news article ran, that essentially just ripped the scab off of the hurt that my family's been experiencing for almost 30 years. She's been missing since then. And I just want to share that there are many, many, many folks in our community who are experiencing this type of hurt and harm. And I don't know how to unpack it and put words to the pain, but I do know that it's important to share and to make sure that people understand that your eyes and your ears have to be open, and when you see something, you have to say something, because you never know, it could be someone's relative in very dire straits, experiencing just needing, just as my council colleague said, just a little bit of heart and being kind and acknowledging someone. I don't want to take up too much time, but I do want to say that the Black and Missing, or Black and Brown and Missing website has gone up, and it needs for us as community members to fill in the blanks for some folks who have been missing for a long time. And I just want to encourage folks to just kind of check out the site and see the photos of folks' family members that are out there, because my Aunt Jackie is on that site, and it hurts. And I would love to have answers as to where she is and what happened to her. Thank you.
Sometimes you just have to take a pause to kind of sit with that kind of pain. I turn now to my other counsel on my right, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good evening, Your Honor, to my honorable colleagues, to all in the chamber, and all who are watching. Councilmember Freeman, I know the heart of this entire city beats with and for you on this evening. We've had some wonderful commemorations tonight, observances tonight with our Million Miler Club and our Black History Month proclamation. I do want to say, Professor Maafo, it's an honor to be in the room with you tonight, sir. And your brilliance has already helped our national project of becoming a more perfect union. My hope now is that this nation will be worthy of your allegiance and your commitment that you've made. So congratulations on your citizenship, and we're a better country for it. I also want to associate myself with my colleagues in congratulating and shouting out those brilliant beams of light at Hillside High School. I had an opportunity to attend the Friday night community premiere of the presentation State of Urgency and got a chance to sit on the panel after that. And my colleagues have already said it. All we need, we already have. We just need to activate it. So again, shout out to all of that brilliance over there at Hillside High School. Madam Mayor, that's all I have really with announcements. I do have a request of the council. This week, the North Carolina League of Municipalities will be holding a board meeting on Thursday and Friday. I am the second vice president of the North Carolina League, so my presence is required. I'm going to ask my colleagues for an excused absence for this Thursday's work session, February 23rd. And that ends my announcements. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Councilwoman Caballero.
Do we want to go ahead and do the excused absence for the Mayor Pro Tem now? So moved.
Second.
It has been moved by, excuse me, Councilwoman Caballero, seconded by Councilman Williams. All those, if you will open the vote, we have our little clickers. Let's see if they're working tonight. If you will close the vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you, colleagues.
Thank you. I have two announcements. Both of them congratulations for the city of Durham and our excellent staff. The first is on behalf of the United States Conference of Mayors. We are writing to congratulate you and your city on the Safe Streets and Roads for All SS4A grant award of $400,000 for your DCHC MPO Safe Streets and Roads for All action plan from the U.S. Department of Transportation. Go Durham. Yeah. And the second one, and we'll hold our applause till we get our second one, is on behalf of the Arbor Day Foundation. I'm thrilled, and this is from Dan Lamb, who is the Arbor Day Foundation Chief Executive. He's thrilled to congratulate Durham on earning recognition as a 2022 Tree City USA. Residents of Durham should be proud to live in a community that makes the planting and care of trees a priority. Congratulations to our able staff on both of these and to the city of Durham. We will city strong. And now we will turn to our priority items. As you see tonight, we have Deputy City Manager Bertha Johnson sitting in with us. Our city manager is a little under the weather. Bertha and I have traveled to Amsterdam together, but this is our first time sharing the podium, and I'm sure we're gonna have a great time tonight, and she helps me to organize my sometimes kind of cookie self. So I will turn to her right now, and so glad to have you up here with me.
Thank you, Mayor O'Neill. Good evening, everyone. Also, Mayor Pro Tem Middleton, as well as our other city council members. I have 4 priority items for your consideration tonight. Agenda item number 25, governing service agreements for on-call professional services. Attachment number 2, governing service agreement was modified to add environmental services to the list of applicable professional on-call services. Agenda item number 26, contract to perform energy audit services between the City of Durham and Alpha Facility Solutions, LLC. Attachment number 4, Exhibit B, was deleted because it was a duplicate of attachment number 3, Exhibit A. Agenda item number 49, Consolidated Annexation, Welcome Venture Park. Attachment E, Development Plan has been revised. And agenda item number 54, 2023 long session legislative and advocacy agendas. Pursuant to City Council's request, Support Youth Mentoring Services Act was moved from number 26 on the city's agenda to number 5 on the city's legislative agenda. That is all I have for you tonight.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I now turn to our city attorney, Attorney Rayburn, to see if she has any priority items.
Good evening, Mayor O'Neill, Mayor Pro Tem Middleton, and members of the City Council. It's good to see you all. The City Attorney's Office has no priority items this evening.
Thank you so much, Attorney Rayburn. And I now turn to our able clerk, Diana Schreiber. Madam Clerk, do you have any priority items for us tonight?
Good evening, Madam Mayor. The City Clerk's Office has no priority items.
All right, thank you so much. We will now move to our next item of order of business, which is the consent agenda. The consent agenda consists of items that the council has previously considered in a work session. All items on the consent agenda may be approved by a single vote of the council. Items may be removed from the consent agenda by a council member or a member of the public, and those items will be considered separately at the end of the meeting tonight. I am going to read through the entire agenda, and then we will vote on our consent agenda first. All right. Item number 1 is the Durham Homeless Services Advisory Committee appointment. Number 2, the Durham Performing Arts Center Oversight Committee appointments. 3, the Durham Performing Arts Center Oversight Committee mayoral appointment. Item 4, Mayor's Hispanic Latino Committee appointment. Item 5, the Citizens Advisory Committee appointment. Number 6, on-street, off-street parking performance audit, January 2023. Item 7, Audit Services Oversight Committee 2022 Annual Report. Item 8, 2022 Raleigh-Durham Airport Authority Annual Report. Number 9, the American Recovery Plan Act ARPA Project, Durham Children's Initiatives Connected to Career Pipeline. Number 10, 2022 Durham Open Space and Trails Commission Annual Report. 11, 2022 Durham City County Appearance Commission Annual Report. Item 12, 2022 Board of Adjustment Annual Report. Item 13, the 2022 Planning Commission Annual Report. Item 14, 2022 Historic Preservation Commission Annual Report. Item 15, the approval of a multifamily housing facility to be known as Hardy Street Apartments in the city of Durham, North Carolina, with the financing thereof with multifamily housing revenue bonds. Item 17, budget amendments. What did I do with 16? I'm missing that one. Thank you. Item 16, 2022 Durham Community Safety and Wellness Task Force Annual Report. Item 17, budget amendments for certain CIP project ordinances, HUD grant project ordinances, and FY23 annual operating funds. I'm gonna learn how to read one day, y'all. Item 18, the cooperative group purchase contract, 3 Sepfin extreme duty custom pumper trucks. Item 19, construction contract with Bar Construction Company, Inc. for athletic court renovations, Piney Wood Park pickleball. Item 20, the Durham Cultural Advisory Board 2022 Annual Report.
Madam Mayor, I don't want to pull the item. I do want to just highlight this report for the public, the general public, if you haven't had a chance to take a look at it. It really has a really nice design to it that I really feel like we need to figure out how to pull more into. And that was all. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 21, service contract with ArborMax Tree Service LLC for right-of-way stump removal. Number 22, the Durham Environmental Affairs Board 2022 Annual Report. 23, the Durham Convention Center Authority Board 2022 Annual Report. Item 24, former Wheels Skating Center upfit design contract with DTW Architects and Planners LTD.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to pull that item.
Thank you. Item 25, the the governing service agreements for on-call professional services, geotechnical engineering, environmental services, surveying, and cost estimating. Item 26, contract to perform energy audit services between the City of Durham and Alpha Facilities Solutions, LLC. Item 27, lease with RDU Presidential Park West Property Owner LP for Durham Police Department District 4 Substation. Item 28 is the Mayor's Hispanic Latino Committee 2022 Annual Report. 29, the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act Agreement for Adult Worker and Dislocated Worker Program, Eckert Youth Alternatives, Inc. Item 30, 2022 Recreation Advisory Commission Annual Report. Item 31, 2022 National Police Athletic League Endowment Grant Project Ordinance. Item 32 is the 2023 Duke Doing Good Grant Project Ordinance. Item 33, Contract SW-40C, Construction Engineering and Inspection Services for South Austin Avenue Sidewalk. Item 34, Contract SW-92 Sidewalk Repairs 2023. Sorry about that. Item 35, Contract ST-322 Maryland Avenue Bridge Removal. Item 36, the interlocal agreement with Durham County for the administration and enforcement of sediment and erosion control requirements within the City of Durham. Item 37, Contract SW-40 South Austin Avenue Sidewalk Project TIP number C-5183B. Item 38, Stormwater Infrastructure Repairs, SD-2022-02. Item 39, Fellowship Placement Agreement between the City of Durham and Fuse Corp. For designing a sustainable solution to waste management project. Item 40, Contract Amendment with Granicus LLC, doing business as Granicus SAS, SAAS LLC, to upgrade the Granicus encoders and software. Item 41, the Second Amendment to purchase contract for 6 GILLIG electric buses. Did I pronounce that right? GILLIG. Item 42, 2022 Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Commission Annual Report. Item 43, construction of a traffic signal at Hillendale Road and Horton Road. Number 44, nutrient analyzer service agreement with HACH, H-A-C-H Company. Item 54, 2023 long session legislative and advocacy agendas. We will then turn to our general business agenda. Item 55 will be a resolution in solidarity with Durham's LGBTQ+ community. Under our general business agenda tonight for public hearings, we have item 48, a zoning map change, American Village Townhomes, that will be led by our Mayor Pro Tem. He will also lead item 49, which is the Consolidated Annexation of Welcome Venture Park. Councilwoman Caballero will be leading the discussion on item 50, which is our zoning map change, 1907 South Miami Boulevard. Item 51 is a public hearing on the use of Home American Rescue Plans, the ARP funds. I think Councilwoman Freeman will be leading that one on 51. And item 52 will be led by Councilman Williams, which is a public hearing on and approval of proposed amendments to the FY 2016 through 2017, 2017 through 2018, 2018 through 2019, 2019 through 2020, 2020 through 2021, and 2021 through 2022 annual action plans. And I believe now we will entertain a motion to approve our consent agenda.
Move to adopt consent.
Second.
All right, it's been moved by Mayor Pro Tem and seconded by, I think, Councilwoman Freeman. If you would open the vote, Madam Clerk. And if you will close the vote and report out.
The motion passes unanimously.
Yes, thank you. Right now, we will be turning to our general business agenda first, I believe, which is item resolution. All right, and I think the resolution of item 55, Councilwoman Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There's a revised resolution in the packet, and I'm happy to make further comment if necessary.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I want to thank Councilmember Johnson for her leadership in making sure that Durham's voice is heard unequivocally without qualification in this issue. There was a bit of dust up in the media over the sausage making that goes on here in the council, but I assure you that this council speaks with one voice on this important issue of Durham's commitment to our residents and citizens that identify as LGBTQ+. Particularly during Black History Month, we are mindful of the number of African American residents and citizens in our city who identify also as LGBTQ+. We speak with one voice on this. Our work sessions are designed to go back and forth and go at it and to amend and perfect, if you will, the voice that will come from this council. So tonight, I'm pleased that we will be voting on this unanimously, and I do want to publicly thank Councilmember Johnson for her leadership in making sure that Durham's voice is heard without qualification in this. And I'll yield to her if she wants to present the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. I move that we approve the resolution in solidarity with Durham's LGBTQ+ community.
Second.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilwoman Johnson and been seconded by Councilwoman Hosey Harmon. If you will please open the vote. If you will close the vote and report out.
The motion passes unanimously.
Job well done, Councilwoman Johnson. We appreciate that.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. All right, I'm checking now to see with our Deputy City Manager if we're doing item 24, right? Yes. We're going back to item 24. Deputy City Manager Johnson didn't realize she was going to actually have to help the mayor stay organized. So we're going back to 24. Item 24, which was a pulled item.
Item from the consent agenda. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Madam Mayor. There are 3 speakers signed up for this item. Our first speaker is Gwen Silver. Welcome, Ms. Silver. Please state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes.
Gwen Silver, 302 Sapphire Drive here in Durham. And good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council members, our administrators. So I'm speaking this evening on the consent number 24 as it relates to recreational facilities at Wheels. We've already purchased a facility, and this is a great opportunity for Durham to expand our offerings at this facility. Mostly all of the places we have are athletic fields, baseball field, basketball, boating, things of that sort. But because this facility has other things, it gives us the opportunity to publicly own something more for those children who are not interested in the athletic part of it. So I'm proposing that we expand Wheels to keep the roller rink, which is already under repair, and it's the number 24 item, the mini golf, the go-karts, the batting cage, the play gym, indoor climbing gym, and the maze. We spent all of our a large portion of tax dollars to buy the Lee Farm facility, which is a former slave plantation. 76.1 acres of land that's pretty much used for golfing. Certainly we can find the money to expand the Wheels facility for these offerings for our children. We talk about the crime. This is not the only answer to that, but it's a portion of it. It's one piece of the puzzle. And when we put all the puzzle pieces together, we should be able to have an impact on that. What we need is some staff persons on this project that look like Black folks and look like brown people, so they can represent our voice and our views. And I'm proposing that we keep all of the facilities, including the skating part of it, but we move it to have a discussion with people in the community. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Silver. Our next speaker will be Mr. James Chavis. Welcome, Mr. Chavis. Please state your name and address, and you'll also have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Councilman Johnson, and to the mayor, the mayor pro tem, and others. My name is James Chavis. I'm 2813 Ash Street, Apartment B, Durham, North Carolina. I was here on Thursday, and I'm still back here tonight. And tonight, to iterate, as some of you already said, this is Black History Month, and I'm Black. And I'm still seeing us Black folks still going through the stuff from 1975 to 1954. So that means we're still suffering, us Black folks that wants to see a change in a better Durham, because we still not having the voice that we need to have. Today, I come to say, please postpone this wheel, because so many people's in the community and so many people's on that committee. We missed 3 months meeting, and no one yet has came and told us why we did not have a meeting in November, December, and January. Come up in December, Mary, who's a white woman, sent out an invitation to us that we was gonna have one in January. Have we had a response back from her? No. Have we had a response from the director? No. And he's white, okay? So what I'm saying to you all today, we all have voices as community folks, and Durham community should have that voice. I'm asking our city council and mayor, listen to us. Give us a chance to speak for the needs of our children. It's not for me. I can't roller skate, but I went to that place and I roller skate. It's not for me. I can't get in a bat cage, but it's for the children that we can help save, as you saying. Councilman Wheaton, you said you went to Hillside and you spoke there. Well, let me tell you, just don't speak there. Speak out in the rest of these communities where our Black kids need you out there talking to them. We are crying. We older ones are crying out to you all. Come and help us to help our own Black people that's in need. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chavis. Our next speaker will be Chantel Farrell. Welcome, Ms. Farrell. Please state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
All right, my name is Chantel Farrell, and I live at 812 South Plum Street. I'm here today to reiterate what they were saying about the things that we would really like to see at Wheels. We would like to keep the skate ring there. I do skate. My husband skate. I have my daughter, my family, we skate. We're going all the way to Raleigh and Roxborough to go skating, and that does not make sense. My daughter, she grew up Durham Parks and Recs. She remember going to the skating ring on the regular. They used that was part of their summer activities, and we keep that going. We would like to keep the batting cage, the skating ring, the arcade, play area, jungle gyms. We need places for our kids to have parties, a safe place. If we can put in there also a mental health studio for yoga, I think that would be great. I think that it is real disrespectful to our community how we have not been included in a lot of these things. Like I signed up for emails. I haven't got an email from anyone saying that we're having a meeting. I did get the email for last week, and that's why I'm here today. I think that that information really needs to be shared. I gave the clerk some paperwork for you guys. We have done a survey, and I would really like you guys to look at what we have, because this is from people of the community, people that look like me, people that care, and these are for business people as well as citizens, people that, you know, put money back into this community. We need Durham to be better. We are too big of a community not to be better as a whole, and I know we can do this. I want to thank y'all for your time, and I appreciate you for letting me speak.
Thank you, Ms. Farrell. That concludes the speakers on this item. I think Councilmember Hyman had also wanted to speak.
Yeah, thank you, colleague. I pulled the item because, again, when I was in the community, am I to go now?
Yeah. Great.
Oh, I don't.
I was just going to say, I wanted to check to make sure there wasn't someone online.
They would have to have signed up, I believe.
We don't have
Councilmember Johnson, can you please ask anyone online to raise their virtual hand if they would like to speak?
Yeah, I believe to speak on this item, they would need to have signed up. So if there's no one online who signed up, then I think we can move on to comments from Councilmember.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Oh, sorry, my mic was off. Councilmember Hyman, I think you can just go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So I pulled the item because when I was in the community, I've spoke to a lot of residents that felt that the community involvement in terms of the planning and what they wanted to see was really not executed. So I wanted to ask staff if they could just kind of go over briefly what was some of the community involvement. No?
Are there any staff members here who could speak on that question?
Good evening. My name is Shauna Parker. Good evening to Madam Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and members of the City Council. My name is Shauna Parker.
Madam Clerk, would you please suspend that, please? Thank you.
I think we're going to have Deputy City Manager Chadwell speak. And was the person who was online part of your department or your team as well?
Yes, I work with the department.
So, let it go. I thought a call had come through. My bad. Thank you.
Okay, so Manager Chadwell, you could speak, or we could defer to your staffer. Either way is fine.
Okay, very, very briefly, not having been involved in the actual details, however, what was structured, and it is to my memory that not less than at least 3 fairly substantial meetings have been held, one that I was actually involved in. And there were myriad kinds of iterations that were proffered and advocated for, to which we attempted to accommodate. What I want to remind council this evening is what's before you is an action on the one item that there has been unanimity of thought and desire for. What we want to accomplish tonight is get the skating rink going, and that's all. This is not a punctuating moment for the entirety of the use of the facility.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chadwell. If the person online would like to speak, that's fine. If we feel Mr. Chadwell's covered it, that's great too. Madam Clerk, can you, thank you.
I believe Mr. Chadwell has covered it.
Okay, thank you so much. Any other comments from council members? Councilmember Freeman.
Thank you. I just want to verify with the clerk because someone said that they did sign up and they're online. And I will follow up, giving you a chance to make sure that there's no one online who signed up to speak. And then just sharing, I sat with community members on Thursday night, and just in trying to discuss what's going on, the overwhelming message that I received was there was a lack of respect for those folks who are volunteering in our community. Just trying to keep the community informed, and I just want to make sure that the community is engaged. So I think I made mention of this to our city manager, and I just want to share with the rest of council that if we are trying to make sure that folks understand, especially folks in low-wealth communities of color, just what community engagement looks like, this is really an example of how it's not operating and it's not effective. And so I just want to make sure that we're clear that just because there's Black leadership doesn't mean that that engagement will happen for a Black community. And it's unfortunate that this is during Black History Month, where I think that we've made it very clear that we support Black people in our community, but it doesn't feel like it. And it's unfortunate that I'm just trying to figure out what the next steps are, because I don't think that postponing it is what the community wants to do. I think what they want to do is be involved in the process and know that they have some way, shape, or form to add their voice to what happens next. And so I know that the city manager is not here today to speak on it, but I do think that it will be imperative that this department follow the lead of NIS specifically in engaging in a very equitable way that allows the folks who have been trying to volunteer and be a part of the process to know what's happening, when it's happening, and then staying engaged, because the October, November, and December meetings, that still hasn't been addressed. And the lack of knowing like what the next step is. I mean, if you're saying that we held meetings, then the people who were there should know what the next steps are. And it just is, it's unsettling for me. Outside of that, I will, I just would like to have some resolve around some of the questions that have been raised, because it doesn't sound like anybody is answering them.
Thank you, Councilmember. Mayor Pro Tem, Madam Mayor, did you have your hand up to speak?
I'll wait.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem and then Councilmember Williams.
Thank you, Councilmember Johnson. And I want to thank the members of the community that have come out tonight. This staff has done a remarkable job at outreach. Have they done enough? No, this is ongoing. The reason why Wheels is going to be open is because of the voice of the community. That it is a direct response to community voices that we are moving to open Wheels. Now, I've been Brother Chavis, you and I got into it one night at a meeting where some things were thrown around that just were not accurate. This is a city of 300,000 people. Because 6 to 10 people have an opinion that we respect, that doesn't mean that every jot and tittle of what they want is going to be translated into policy. Because the same 7 to 10 people think that we haven't been responsive or haven't been doing what we need to do. That doesn't necessarily make it so. Does it devalue those voices? Of course not. They're important voices. I know many of the voices. But I've heard staff members called racist. Listen, we have white people that work for the city of Durham. And because a white person may come with a City of Durham badge on to engage in engagement, and we got plenty of Black folk that work for us too. That out of hand is not racist. Our Parks and Recreation Department works extremely hard. We've got more work to do. What we are moving on tonight is one piece. It is the piece that the community asked for. They asked for, now, nothing is off the table. Arcades aren't off the table, the bullpen's not off the table. None of that stuff is off the table. Tonight is specifically about upfitting the roller skating rink that we so desperately wanted and asked for. That it's happening. It is literally happening. So I'm a bit confused when I hear some of the critique about, and listen, if staff made representations that we were gonna have meetings and we didn't have it, we need answers on that, absolutely. Absolutely, but I know some meetings have occurred. I've been at some of those meetings. I know that the reason why Wheels is alive is not because the government had a great idea one morning. Wheels is alive because the community called for it. The voice of the community asked for it, and it's happening. So I want to just say, you know, with all due respect to my colleagues, the staff works extremely hard. Do we always get it right? No. but we're not sending racists out with city badges on. And if we find out, this is an extremely colorful council. If we find out that folk are out there just being racist to people, they will not have a job. So I want to, in defense of the staff, say, you know, we got more work to do. But I want to be very clear that we are moving on wheels. Wheels is going to happen because of y'all, the community, because of the voice of the people, because it is an iconic, sacred place in the fabric of our city, in the history of our city, and it was a community voice that saved it, not the government. And we should be very proud of it, that it came from outside of City Hall. But I will push back on just blanket accusations of racism of our staff, that they don't work hard, that they're just deliberately ignoring people. If we've missed some meetings, we need answers from that. But I won't sit here and allow this staff to be drugged from this dais or anywhere else when I know how hard they work. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Councilmember Williams.
Thank you. I do spend time in PAC 1. You guys have seen me quite a bit. In regards to what Mayor Pro Tem just covered a bit of it, I was going to say to the residents that are here from PAC 1 that I'll follow up with Director Walcott, as I said I would at your last meeting, when you stated that you didn't know what was going on, there wasn't any updates. So I did ask him for those updates, and I can provide these emails for you that shows the timeline. Also, it shows the meeting minutes. It also shows the subcommittee or committee with PAC 1 representatives on it. So I too was a little confused in what was happening there. So if you guys say there are no meetings happening, and then I'm looking at meeting notes, and there probably needs to be some communication. So I'll ask Director Walcott to follow up directly just to make sure there's no confusion.
Thank you, Councilmember. Are there any other comments, Madam Mayor?
And I had one of my law professors who ended up helping me to run the law school. She always used to say, miscommunication can be equally as harmful as no communication. And I think that most people who come in this chamber or call in to talk to us have one thing that they want, and that's to be heard. And not only do they want to be heard, they want to be listened to. I can't imagine that people will come up here and sit these kinds of hours and not know that their voices are being heard. So when we have these kinds of dialogues, what I look for is where did the communication break down? And Mr. Chavis is here a lot. He could be anywhere else. I've known him for a long time, but he's one who's constantly here to upraise the voices of a lot of folk who don't have the ability or sometimes perhaps the courage to come to be heard. Because it's hard. It's hard to come and public speak. It's hard for me to kind of figure out what I'm doing up here. You see, I'm looking next and kind of looking because it's hard. This is not easy work for us to do it or to listen to it, and for others in the audience to come seeking for their voices to be heard. So we look, where is the middle ground? When people are constantly saying that they're not being heard, that's the time for us to pause, to make sure that they're understanding what we're trying to communicate and that we're understanding what they're trying to communicate. And when people say that they're engaged, who is the one that says that you're the one that's being engaged? Is it the one that's putting on the meeting or the one that's supposedly being engaged? So if you have community members who are saying, we have not been engaged, it's not for us to say that that hasn't happened because you've had a meeting. Because you can actually sit in a meeting and not be engaged. We do it all the time. Probably some of you all out there doing it right now. So I just say when we have a breakdown in communication, because learning how things flow within city government, a lot of the language is confusing. And even though you might hear it, doesn't translate to you understanding where we are in the process. And so I don't think it hurts us to slow down and say, we've got to make sure that people are actually being listened to. that they're being heard. Even if we disagree with that, I think that that is very much a part of the process, is taking part, to listen to even those that might be in disagreement, or might be some comments made that people consider off the wall. Who knows? But at least they've been heard. And at least we provide a space for them to understand the process. So what I'm hearing is that somewhere along, we've lost that in between what we're doing tonight and what has taken place within the community itself. And we need to make sure that those things mesh. If not, we miss the mark as a public servant, because we are here to serve the public. Staff, we have a great staff, but they're getting paid for a job that they volunteered to do and they were hired for. Nobody put a gun in anybody's head and said, you're now staff. Somebody applied and somebody said, yes, you're right. So, but as elected officials, we are charged with making sure that those two meet. And we're the bridge. We're the bridge to make sure the constituents, our residents, are heard, and that is translated in a language that both parties can understand. So I appreciate when people come in here and say, I've not been heard, because that gives us an opportunity to make sure that there are. And then if we tend to disagree, we can have some reasonable explanation to give them as to why, and they'll understand that as well. So it is very much a layered process in this very difficult business that we deal in. The public trust demands that we communicate effectively, and I think we've just had a breakdown of that, and we need to rectify that.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Hyman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and colleagues. So the reason why I pulled the item is I am the liaison to the Recreation Committee, and I meet at 7:30 in the morning once a month. And so at the meeting, they did say that they were community involvement. And so when I go in the community and I hear that there has been some barrier in that, that's why I pulled the item, so that I could have staff speak to what they said happened. So not that I did not pull it to say that the staff wasn't doing what they were supposed to be doing. I pulled it because I'm sitting at the meetings and they're telling me this is what's going on, and then when I go in the community, I'm hearing something different. So as the mayor said, there is a barrier or gap in communication. So that's why I pulled it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Other comments, Councilmember Freeman?
Thank you, and I appreciate the mayor's comments. I think what I'm most alarmed of is that this continues to happen, not just for people of color, but people of color in low-wealth communities. And I'm going to say that there's a push to make sure that you translate into other languages that are not English, but there's no push to make sure that folks understand on a level that makes sense to them and a community that PAC 1 is represented, or PAC 2, 3, 4, or 5. These folks volunteer to engage with our community. They volunteer to support the work that we're doing, and they volunteer to be supportive of the projects that the staff is working on. And I don't understand the dissension in trying to make sure that they understand. Like, I would think that it just begs the question, because I want to be very clear that there is a white woman that is the liaison to PAC 1. So this is not about just all white people are racist. This is specific to the Parks and Rec Department, and I've heard it a number of times, and it's starting to piss me off. And that's where I'm at tonight, and just acknowledging, like, this is a project that should be moving forward, but I'm having the community come in and saying, we want to pause because we're not being heard. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. I'm going to jump in and say that it would be great to hear from staff some, more specifics about the folks who came to the community meetings. But and the content at the meetings. But as Councilmember Williams had said, and Mayor Pro Tem, meetings have occurred. There are notes from those meetings that show that there was significant community engagement, and I think it would be a mistake to delay this project. We have heard from residents from all over the city that want wheels brought back. This was a major priority for people who have come to speak to us over the last few months, and the more we wait, the longer it's going to be before our kids can skate again. I think we have heard a very clear and we've heard a very clear mandate from community members that we need to bring back wheels. And all this agenda item does is bring back wheels. We are going to continue to have engagement about the aquatics facilities, the water park, the athletic fields that are all going in the neighborhood. All this item is about is wheels. And I think we have a very clear mandate to upfit and reopen the Wheels theme park. And I think it would be a mistake to delay this item. So if there's no further comments, I would take a motion to approve the item or other comments if folks would like to make them. Madam Mayor.
I do, before we take a vote, I do want the community members who have expressed that they haven't been informed of the process to the extent that they feel included, is basically what we're saying. I would ask for some clarification on the record tonight before we take that vote as to what we are doing, and further, what would be the next step so that they are assured that they are being heard and they will be engaged in that process. So basically, what are we voting on tonight? If you could break that down into, just a line or two, what are we doing tonight? And then what can they expect moving forward in terms of a next step so that they will be prepared to give us or pass to the staff the meeting minutes that they have and they would like to share. So I would like for them to be real clear tonight as what we're about to vote on and what this will do in terms of moving to get Wheels reopened. I don't think they want it delayed. They just want to kind of know where we are in that process. Well, please come back, Mr. Chavis.
Madam Mayor and members of council, I've listened to all of the deliberations and dialogues, and I am prepared to personally commit that I can follow up with the leadership if they would identify themselves and reach out to me. And I will lead the effort to try and bridge this communications that I've heard about this evening, in doing so, not fomenting any thought that that hasn't occurred before. Let me be very, very abundantly clear, as I stated before. What we're asking for tonight is whatever engagement is done, whether it's been effective, ineffective, or otherwise, it's been clear and consistent to us that the skating rink had to go while we were doing all the rest of this, and that's what we're asking for tonight, is that the skating rink, with the myriad interests, including those represented here tonight, as was stated from the microphone tonight, that they wanted the skating rink to proceed. That's all we've brought to you this evening. And it's not punctuating any aspect of the totality of the planning of the facility. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, for allowing me to get back up here. And thank you for saying.
Chadwell.
Chadwell, I'm trying to think. You know, that's what we want. We have not came up here, not one side, that we wanted to stop the Wheels from open. Only thing we're saying, we want to know the communication part of it. And if you read it and say, y'all say y'all got all these notes and everything put on from them, guess when it happened? See, they ain't tell y'all that when it happened. You know, when we came up here Thursday, we said the same thing. We wanted the Wheels open. We did not say closed Wheels. They just put it on the website. Very reasonable for us to read, but it's still not what we had requested. We did not have any voice in what they got on that website. That is your staff putting what they want. It's not what we had a chance to talk to them about, have in the conversation about. We're not saying we want Wheels to stop. We're not saying that. We're saying communicate with us. Let us know from A, B, C, all the way down to Z what's really going on. Because there was questions we had at the last meeting we had. It was supposed to have been doing whether it was going to be the city of Durham to run it or get a private developer. That's where we left off.
All right.
They did not come back to us and tell us they don't got all this other stuff. So if you look at it, ask them about where we stopped out. The last meeting we stopped off was talking about who was going to run that place, and nothing else was brought back to our attention.
Thank you, Mr. Chavis. I think now that we are clear to go ahead and vote, Deputy Chief Chadwell has indicated that he will take personal responsibility of making sure that you all are engaged in the process, and we'll make sure that that communication gap that we're experiencing will be closed.
Okay, can you start coming to our meeting on Thursday? This coming Thursday at home at 6 o'clock, because we didn't meet on this, continue on at 6 at home.
I will talk to you after this is done or tomorrow, okay, Mr. Chavis? All right, thank you so much. All right.
Would you like me to call for the vote? If there is a motion,
So moved.
motion by Councilmember Williams, seconded by Councilmember Caballero, to approve item number 24. Madam Clerk, would you please open the vote? Please close the vote.
The motion passes 7-0.
Thank you, Madam Clerk, and I will pass the mic.
Thank you so much. We are now moving to our public hearings. I do want to check in with our Mayor Pro Tem for 1 second and see if we could make some adjustments to some of the public hearings that are zoning map changes. You all may be last or later on this evening so that we can try to accommodate some of the members of the general public, if you don't mind, to see if we could move things around a bit. So if you give me 1 second, please.
Thank you for your patience, everyone. Thank you, Your Honor. With your permission, we are going to proceed with our general business public hearings in this order. We will have item number 49 first, Consolidated Annexation, Welcome Venture Park. We will then move to item 51, public hearing on use of Home American Rescue Plan ARP funds. We will then move to item 52, public hearing on and approval of proposed amendment to the FY 2016 through 2017, 2017 through 2018, 2018 through 2019, 2019 through 2020, 2020 through 2022 annual action plans, and then item number 48, I'm sorry.
50 is the last.
And then item number 48 will be zoning map change, American Village Townhomes, and then the last item will be item number 50, all right, which is zoning map change, 1907 South Miami Boulevard. So our first public hearing will be Consolidated Annexation, Welcome Venture Park. This is a public hearing, but at this time we'll entertain a report from the staff. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Mayor Neal, Mayor Pro Tem Middleton, and honorable council members. Good evening, I'm Andy Lester with the Planning Department. I'm happy to be here with you tonight. Before I begin, staff would like to state for the record that all Planning Department hearing items have been advertised and noticed in accordance with state and local law, and affidavits of all notices are on file in the Planning Department. A request for a utility extension agreement, voluntary annexation, and initial zoning map change has been received from Welcome Wilson Jr. of the Welcome Group for 3 parcels of land totaling 157.37 acres and located at Hamlin and Oxford Road, Old Oxford Roads. This annexation petition is not contiguous to the primary corporate limits. The applicant is proposing to annex and rezone the properties to facilitate the construction of up to 1.3 million square feet of industrial space. The current zoning is light industrial. The applicant proposes to change this designation to industrial light with a development plan. This request, case Z220004, received a recommendation of approval from the Planning Commission on October 11th, 2022, by a vote of 11-0. The case was heard and continued by the City Council at their January 3rd, 2023 meeting. Subsequent to the meeting, the applicant has committed to prohibiting gas stations, payday lenders, and stores selling tobacco or related products, adult establishments, and electronic gaming operations. In addition, the applicant has committed to additional landscaping along Hamlin Road. The properties are currently designated industrial on the future land use map. The proposed zoning is consistent with the designated future land use. At the January 3rd, 2023 City Council meeting, the applicant requested a continuance to further engage the surrounding communities. The applicant has since committed to a 50-foot buffer with evergreen shrubs along the north side of Hamlin Road between the point aligning just east of Sweet Gale Court and to approximately 60 feet east of Golden Crest Drive, and committed to limiting any restaurant use with associated drive-through facilities within 200 feet of the right-of-way of Old Oxford and Hamlin Roads. In addition, the applicant has signed a memorandum of understanding with the community outside the scope of the zoning map change process to further meet some of the community goals or needs. And as a reminder, the 3 motions are required for this application. The first is to adopt an ordinance annexing the property and entering into a utility extension agreement. The second is to approve the zoning ordinance. And the third is to approve the consistency statement. Thank you. Staff and the applicant are available for any questions.
Thank you very much. This is a public hearing. Before I go to the gallery, I'm going to ask if any of my honorable colleagues have any questions or comments for staff on this matter. All right, as is my practice, I do want to disclose that the organization of which I'm a principal is a major landowner in that area. We are outside of the notification area. There's absolutely no financial investment or interest in this for us or me whatsoever, but I do like to disclose when it's this close. Public hearing is open. Yeah, thank you. Mr. Biker, thank you, Councilor. Mr. Biker, how much time do you anticipate needing?
4 minutes.
4 minutes? Put 5 minutes on the clock, please. Thank you. All right.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the City Council. My name is Patrick Biker. I live at 2614 Stewart Drive. I'm an attorney with Morningstar Law Group, and I'm here tonight representing the Welcome Group, which is one of our nation's leading business and industrial developers based in Houston, Texas. Joining me tonight are Ted Kakamburas with the Welcome Group, Randy Warren with RW2 Development, as well as Brendy Vega with Withers and Ravenel, our land planning and civil engineering consultants, and Earl Llewellyn, our traffic engineer with Kimley Horn. We're here tonight to discuss this 157-acre development we are calling Welcome Venture Park. As the council may have observed, it is not uncommon for large projects, such as this one, in the northern and eastern sections of Durham County to be accommodating a segment of Northern Durham Parkway, since that road has been on our transportation plan for 40 or 50 years. We certainly appreciate the concerns of the neighbors who live in Ellerby Creek Preserve neighborhood regarding increased traffic. But the mandate to comply with the current comprehensive transportation plan means that the business park before you tonight has to align its section of Northern Durham Parkway with the right-of-way dedicated in conjunction with this neighborhood back in 2006. After the Planning Commission hearing back in October, we added new text commitments relating to landscape buffers to address concerns we heard from these neighbors. In addition to the list of text commitments that are on our development plan, tonight we wish to proffer 2 more. First one, to pick up on something Mr. Lester remarked on, we proffer not to allow any restaurants with drive-thrus in Welcome Venture Park. And second, we will proffer $30,000 in scholarship funds to Durham Tech for students who want to learn a construction trade. We estimate this amount would serve approximately 20 students. To my knowledge, this is $30,000 more in scholarships than any other business park in Durham ever has proffered to benefit the community. We realize residents in Bragtown would like to see more scholarship funds for Durham Tech, but we are simply not able to do that due to the heavy infrastructure requirements for Welcome Venture Park to move forward at this time. At the end of the day, despite our best efforts, we realize we cannot make everybody happy. If I failed in some way, I apologize for that, but I can say our team has given its best effort to bring a very good project to the council this evening. To wrap up, this development plan before the council tonight implements our future land use map and the long-term industrial light zoning that has been in place for these 157 acres for at least 3 decades. All we are doing with this rezoning is adding a development plan so that we can add text commitments that we have proffered to benefit this section of Durham. These proffers were based on 14 meetings that our team held with neighborhood representatives over this 13-month process. One last point that I believe is not addressed in your staff report is that the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality designated these 157 acres as a brownfield site, and that occurred on December 22 of 2021. The Phase 1 and Phase 2 environmental site assessments that the Welcome Group commissioned demonstrated the former Mitsubishi Semiconductor site, now KBI Biopharma, spilled volatile organic compounds to the southwest of our site, along with releases of chlorinated solvents from the former Beckman property to the east of our site. These 2 releases of pollution contaminated this site, which in turn led to this brownfield's eligibility. Therefore, the Welcome Group will be shouldering the increased site cost associated with the remediation of these pollutants should this rezoning be approved. Accordingly, to support this brownfield's environmental cleanup, provide enhanced buffers, restrict drive-through restaurants, and construct 4 internal bus stops to serve the future employees within Welcome Venture Park, we respectfully request your approval of this rezoning tonight. Our team will be happy to answer any questions. We thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Biker. I do have cards for both proponents and opponents on this item, and we will start with our proponents. I have 2 speakers signed up as proponents, and I'm pleased to welcome Vanessa Mason-Evans and Donna Frederick. Good evening to both of you. Thank you for being with us. You'll each have 3 minutes. If you'll state your name and record for the address, name and address for the record, you'll have 3 minutes. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Donna Frederick and 603 East Club Boulevard, Durham, North Carolina. I will make this quick. We've been working with this project for several months. Engagement has been done. There was a little bit of an understanding in the beginning of our talk of what the community needed from this project. A little bit was mentioned tonight as to jobs. The jobs that will come through this development once it's done will be high-paying jobs. One of the things we do need is training. There's no sense having a facility if we are not trained to get those high-paying jobs. That is why I'll ask from this department to really look into getting the $200,000, which we propose to Welcome Venture Park, that will allow, endowment to Durham Tech, which would be training not at one time, but through the years of this project. That was our ask from Bragtown community. So that's the short of it.
Thank you so much for being with us. Good evening. Good to have you with us. If you'll state your name and address for the record, you'll have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Mayor O'Neill and City Council. I'm Vanessa Mason-Evans. I stay at 3223 Dearborn Drive. As Donna stated, we have been working with the Welcome Group. We don't have any problems with what's going on other than we look at the community. The community needs jobs, quality paying jobs. We know that Durham is changing dramatically. And as the cost of living goes up, so does jobs. And with what they're doing is they're saying, the first ask was $10. They said they would give us $10,000. That would only do like 5 students. Now they're saying 30, that's only gonna be 20. We don't want just a one-time drop in the bucket and they leave. In our engagement with them, they said that they will work with us for years to come. So as Donna's saying, we're hoping that this won't be a one-time thing, and if we had some type of endowment, it would be so much better. I know when you do a text amendment, whatever they give us, that's what it's gonna be. So we were saying if they had something in writing, not so much that it had to be all at one time, but if they would work with us, and if we could put something in writing stating that they would work with us for several years, because the development is gonna be going on for several years. And not only after that development happens, once those buildings are in there, those people that will be in those spaces, whether it be biotech, science tech, industrial, those people can also bring donations into the community to help people get jobs and training. So we're not just asking a welcome group. We're hoping that this can be something that can be a tremendous change, not just for Bragtown, but for all of Durham. And for them as well, because I feel it would give them the name that no company has had. And as Patrick just stated, they are a leading company. So if you're a leading company, lead this community to something better than where we are now. Make it a better community where people can pay for their houses, whether they want to buy or whether they want to rent, and stay in an area where we're finna have so much development coming into Bragtown. And we also support the Hamlin and the Oxford Road development of the tree saves, as well as the restaurants and the drive-throughs, just so y'all know. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for being with us tonight. We'll now turn to our opponents. I'm going to invite to the microphone Natalie Pickett, Helena Craig, and Valerie Valentine. Thank you all for being with us. If you'll state your name and address for the record, you'll each have 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Valerie Valentine. I live at 1115 Golden Crest Drive. My home sits at the corner of Hamlin and Golden Crest. I am one of 180 single-family homes in a mostly minority development. And I thank you all for engaging. I thank Councilwoman Caballero for coming out to our neighborhood. Thank you for others who have driven through or who drive through this neighborhood every day to get a better sense of what we're talking about. I appreciate this opportunity to engage. I started to engage originally because about a year ago when I first went to a meeting with Welcome Venture Park, although I had in my mind about a corporate park, which is how it was presented, when I went to the meeting, they still had not had any tenants, and they decided that they were going to break the development up into 2 phases. So that kind of woke me up, and I became a little bit concerned about what was going across the street in 160 acres. So I am in complete solidarity with the BCA Association in their quest to find jobs for the community, because if we don't know what's coming in this neighborhood, we don't have transportation that comes out to Hamlin Road. It is absolutely important and imperative that the community be involved in this project and benefit from this project. The second reason I stay engaged in this process is because of some things that were uncovered by your staff. First, the cost-benefit analysis revealed that policing is deficit for this project every year up until, for the next 7 years, at a cost of just under $500,000. Because we are sit right across the street from that development, that is certainly a primary concern. Secondly, your staff also uncovered that there might be some floodplain issues. So I am in solidarity again with the 6 residents who live across the street from me and whose properties back up to this development, that they have the structures in place and a creative floodplain design plan to be able to prevent problems up front in text amendments and not at the site plan level. So I appreciate this opportunity to engage. It's not that I am against this development. I want this development to be aligned with the other businesses that are already in this community and on this street, which are set back far from the street and have little impact on our community, and we've lived with them, again, I have for 15 years. Thank you.
Thank you for being with us. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Natalie Pickett. I live at 1111 Paul Road. That's less than a half mile from this site. And I'm also here as a representative of Oxford Hamlin Community Coalition, excuse me. I'd first also like to recognize the potential positive impact that this project may have, specifically bringing economic growth to this area, as we heard, and cleaning up the brownfield site. Oxford Hamlin community has worked with this applicant team for several months to add those much-needed text commitments that protect the homes and livelihoods of adjacent residences, since we are talking about industrial light bordering existing residential residences. And so those amendments, we were able to negotiate those stronger tree buffers, and as of today, restricting drive-through restaurants. We would like to highlight the concerns expressed by staff in their report around stormwater and flooding downstream of the site, which is that existing residential area. Many of these residences have septic tanks because they are in the county, and those septic tanks can be greatly negatively impacted by flooding. We are not clear that this plan commits to stormwater measures that would treat the 100-year storm, and we understand that that is a type of commitment that has become increasingly common in developments. So we ask that it be considered for this case or further looked into that concern that the staff did raise in their report. And finally, we stand in solidarity with Bragtown community and their efforts to push this applicant and others in their contribution to Bragtown, surrounding areas of the site, specifically job training and educational opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being with us. Good evening.
Good evening, Councilwoman Persons. Thank you so much for being here. I really just wanted to summarize the two most outstanding things that I think have not been.
Could you state your name and address?
Oh, I'm sorry, Helena Craig, 1017 Old Oxford Road. And I wanted to amplify mainly 2 points. The stormwater control measures, amongst the things we were able to have progress in our negotiations with the development team, I don't think that we got to a clear understanding of what was being done to allay the concerns of stormwater staff about downstream impacts. So some of those impacts were to individual homeowners who would not have the capacity to resolve these problems, but there are also adjacent commercial developments that we've been in relationship with. So there were grave concerns, and again, we did not see clarity on whether a 100-year stormwater event was being proffered in this plan. So that is one thing that I would ask you to pay attention to. And again, just amplifying our solidarity with BCA in naming that with large developments coming to our area, that being the Carver Street assemblage and now Welcome Venture, from residential to industrial, we're looking for ways that it can actually be a benefit to existing community members as well. And so BCA scholarship proffer really offers a foundational opportunity to make sure the people that these developments are happening in get to actually benefit from them. So I hope that you will look at that a little further. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being with us. Mr. Barker, did you want to respond? Those are all the cards I have. Did you want to respond to anything?
Happy to answer any questions, but yeah, no, we appreciate that we've had a long process with all the neighborhood representatives, and again, we've done our best to bring forward a project that puts our best foot forward and is able to put, I think it's really important to look at job creation next to the affordable housing that the council approved last March. I think they're two sides of the same coin, so be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone in chamber or online, Madam Clerk, that wishes to be heard on this matter that has not spoken already? This is a public hearing? Is that a? All right. You'll approach, sir. Give us your name and address. For the record, you'll have 3 minutes.
Good evening. Sorry, Brian Fox, 909 Exum Street, and I'm the Vice President of Public Policy for the Greater Durham Chamber of Commerce. I just want to thank all of the comments thus far this evening, as well as so much of what's gone into this process, including at the Planning Commission level. I do believe that a lot of the concerns that have been raised will be continually resolved through a number of processes. The way that this sort of works in the economic development field is you don't always know the tenant when you build a building, and it's important to have products available that you can bring tenants into. So the types of jobs that will come here, this developer is committing to support the ones that we know are coming through the construction trades. But as we're seeing through a number of great workforce development programs throughout our community right now, such as the BULLS initiative, which was originally conceived as building up local life sciences, there are a number of systems at play here that are working to prepare our residents and neighbors for the jobs that are here today, the jobs that we know are coming, and the jobs that we know are coming because of the jobs that are coming. So we are excited to see important development, industrial development, commercial development in this area. We know through everything that we've heard that this developer is committed to working with the neighbors for years to come, that the future tenants certainly will do their part, as we've seen folks like Novo Nordisk commit $6 million to Durham Tech very recently. And so we look forward to what's to come here in the short term and in the long term, and we trust the great staff here in local government to help assuage any continued concerns. But we appreciate the opportunity to speak in support, and thank you to the council and to the many folks who have been involved in the consideration.
Thank you so much for your comments. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone in chamber tonight who wishes to be heard on this matter who has not already spoken? All right, Madam Clerk, do you see anyone online who wants to speak on this matter?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, Jackie Wagstaff has her hand raised in the virtual queue.
All right. Good evening, Ms. Wagstaff. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening. You wish to be heard on this matter, 49 Welcome Venture Park?
Unfortunately, I was trying to be heard on another matter, and I had my hand up from the time the conversation started on 24. I signed up for it, and I never got acknowledged. So this is not a matter I want to hear, and I'm not going to speak on that, but just wanted you to know that I did sign up, and I did have my hand up during the whole conversation. And I actually text some of the council members to let them know I was online, and I never got acknowledged. So I just wanted to put that out there, but I'm not speaking on this item.
My deepest apologies, Ms. Wagstaff, for the oversight. Please forgive us. All right, I'll now turn to my honorable colleagues on the dais for any questions or comments you may have. Councilmember Williams.
Question for the applicant.
Sir.
Do you mind stating why you all could not meet the request of the 200K?
Certainly, Councilman Williams. We touched on all of these points during my presentation. We have to build a segment of Northern Durham Parkway. We have to build all the water and sewer infrastructure. We have to build a first phase building, which will be approximately 75,000 square feet. We have to build a parking, stormwater infrastructure. All of that has to be done before we can achieve even 1 penny of revenue. And so at this phase of the development process, we can commit on the record to $30,000. We would make that $30,000 contribution prior to approval of the site plan for phase 1. And that means, as we're looking at it right now, that these scholarships would be available for approximately 20 students before next semester. So we're at a juncture where the infrastructure lift is really, really heavy. And we really can't even estimate how much the environmental remediation will cost, because you really don't know the extent of it until you get started. So we have a heavy lift to get this project rolling forward. And again, this $30,000 would help at least, I would estimate at least 20 students next semester at Durham Tech with HVAC, electrical, plumbing, those types of certifications, so that they could have a chance to apply for the construction jobs at at Welcome Venture Park. I hope that answered your question.
It did, and I just wanted you to state that on the record. Usually folks who are in the development industry, you all as individuals do have a lot of money, but I also tend to feel a little uncomfortable digging into your pocketbook without understanding the full lift of that responsibility. So I think it's just a matter of just explaining that it's really easy to ask for a certain amount and not understand the full reason why we can or cannot. But on the same side of that, I think that the reason why the residents are asking for that amount of money or just asking for the initiative really is because they really want to make sure there's an investment on accomplishing the idea that we're all setting forth here, and that is to be able to live, work, and play, right? So with that being said, I wouldn't feel comfortable asking you all for any arbitrary number, but I do feel comfortable stating that there are a lot of initiatives that Durham Tech is doing that is actually preparing a lot of folks locally to be able to prepare for these types of jobs, especially the apprenticeship program that is paying folks to come to Durham Tech for free, or actually paying them to come and preparing them over 4 years. And I'm really hoping that the citywide apprenticeship program that we're working on comes through also, because it will prepare people for these types of jobs, anywhere from $18 to $35 an hour with pension and with health care. So there are a lot of initiatives out there that will help us build up our own stock right here locally. And we have to highlight those as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Colleagues, anyone else? I'm going to officially declare this public hearing closed, and the matter is now back before the council. Before we entertain motions, I'll poll my colleagues one more time if there are any questions or comments before we entertain motions. Seeing none, there are 3 motions for this item. Motion number 1, to adopt an ordinance annexing BDG 220004 into the city of Durham effective March 31st, 2023, and to authorize the city manager to enter into a utility extension agreement with Welcome Venture Park, LLC.
So moved.
I heard a motion from Councilmember Williams and a second from Her Honor the Mayor. Madam Clerk, would you please open the vote? Please close the vote and report.
The motion passes 7-0.
Motion number 2 is to adopt an ordinance amending the Unified Development Ordinance by taking property out of the Industrial Light IL Falls Jordan Lake District B FJB county jurisdiction and establishing the same as Industrial Light with a development plan ILD Falls Jordan Lake District B FJB city jurisdiction.
So move.
Second.
Heard a motion from Councilmember Williams and a second from Her Honor. Madam Clerk, would you please open the vote? Would you please close the vote and report out?
The motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. And the final motion, motion number 3, to adopt a consistency statement as required by NCGS 160D-605.
So moved.
Second.
Heard a motion from Councilmember Williams and a second from Her Honor. Madam Clerk, would you please open the vote? Please close the vote and report out.
And the last motion is unanimous.
Thank you so much. That disposes of that matter. Colleagues, our next item will be item number 15, public hearing on use of Home American Rescue Plan ARP funds, and that will be led by our honorable colleague, Councilmember Freeman. I thought I said 50. Did I not say 51? I said 15? 51. Public hearing on use of Home American Rescue Plan ARP funds. My bad.
Thank you. This item. So public hearing of use of Home American Rescue Plan ARPA funds, and I'm turning it over to staff. I see Reginald Johnson at the mic.
Greetings, Councilmember Freeman, Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. Reginald Johnson, Director of the Department of Community Development. This is a public hearing on the Home ARP funds. We do have sign language interpreters as required by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. I'll turn it over to Colin Davis, a homeless team manager, to read the particulars and also do a presentation before you open the public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor O'Neill, members of the council, City Manager Page, and all in the hearing of this presentation. I'm Colin Davis, the manager of the homeless system in the Community Development Department. The purpose of this public hearing is to receive citizen comments regarding the use of Home ARP funds. Home ARP funds were approved in March 2021 by Congress to address the needs for homelessness assistance and supportive services. Congress appropriated $5 billion in ARP funds to be administered through the Home Investment Partnerships Program to perform 4 activities that must primarily benefit qualifying individuals and families who are homeless, at risk of homelessness, or in other vulnerable populations. The program described for the use of $5 billion in ARP funds is the Home American Rescue Plan, or Home ARP. The City of Durham is eligible to receive $4,346,151 of Home ARP funds after the amendment to the FY 21-22 Annual Action Plan is submitted and approved by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. One of the requirements is defining the needs of the community through data analysis and through public input. Tonight, there will be a short overview of the data collected, eligible expenses, qualifying populations, as well as an opportunity for input on the use of these funds. The draft of the Home ARP amendment will be available for public review for 30 days beginning after this meeting on the Community Development Department's webpage located on the City of Durham website. Notice of this meeting was properly advertised in the Herald Sun and KPASA newspapers, distributed via the department's general listserv, as well as posted on the Community Development Department's webpage and the City of Durham website. The City Council will be asked to approve the final draft of the Home ARP amendment at the March 20th, 2023 City Council meeting. A summary of comments from this public hearing and written comments received from citizens will be included with the submission of the proposed Home ARP plan to the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development. With that, I'll go over a brief allocation of how these funds may be used and the qualifying populations. The American Rescue Plan was approved in March of 2021, referred to as Home ARP. The funds are intended to serve individuals and families who are homeless, at risk of homelessness, or other vulnerable populations. The City of Durham has $4.3 million in one-time funding, and the funds expire September 30th, 2030. The funds may be used only for these types of activities: acquisition, rehabilitation, or new construction of rental housing, including SROs, permanent supportive housing, and affordable rental housing. For those who don't know what SROs are, those are single-room occupancy. Acquisition and development of non-congregate shelter units. The provision of supportive services, including McKinney-Vento supportive services, homelessness prevention services, and housing counseling services. Funds are also eligible for tenant-based rental assistance. The funds must be used to assist any one of or all of people in these qualifying populations. Individuals and families who are homeless as defined by 24 CFR 91.5 because they lack a fixed, regular, and adequate nighttime residence or at imminent risk of homelessness. Individuals and families at risk of homelessness as defined by 24 CFR 91.5. Individuals and families who are fleeing or attempting to flee domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, stalking, or human trafficking. Other populations where providing assistance would prevent homelessness or reduce housing instability, including households with incomes below 30% of the area median income, who are paying over 50% of their income for housing, and households with incomes less than 50% of the area median income, who meet specific conditions for being at risk of homelessness. In order to receive these funds, the city must prepare a Home ARP allocation plan which summarizes public participation, including consultation with key stakeholders, description of Home ARP qualifying populations within the jurisdiction, and an assessment of need, assessment of gaps in the housing and shelter inventory, homeless assistance and prevention services, a summary of the planned use of Home ARP funds, including any preferences for individuals and families in a particular qualifying population. What that means is we are able to prioritize out of those qualifying populations. A group may be prioritized above another group. You could prioritize somebody experiencing homelessness over somebody at risk of homelessness for the use of these funds, as an example. The need in Durham, persons experiencing homelessness. This is going back and looking at our 2022 point in time count. There were 459 persons experiencing homelessness in Durham the night of the count. 68% of them were in shelter and 31% were unsheltered. That translated to 144 unsheltered individuals on that particular night. The racial and gender breakdowns are seen below. There were also 154 persons identified as chronically homeless by HUD's definitions. That means a disabling condition and at least 12 months of homelessness or longer. Currently, this is old data, but relatively accurate on most weeks. There are 24 families and about 100 individuals who are currently on our coordinated entry waiting list waiting for shelter or other housing opportunities, ideally permanent housing. We do have a number, 8,255 renter households in Durham with incomes less than 30% of the area median income who are paying more than 50% of their income in rent. At the time, we had 25 families and 31 individuals who were reporting they were within 14 days of becoming homeless due to rents and other reasons they were losing housing. We do, based on data from the Durham Crisis Response Center, there's roughly 500 individuals who are fleeing or attempting to flee domestic violence in our community, and they are often having to refer out of county due to lack of housing options within the jurisdiction. We've also seen a reduction in properties and property management companies and landlords that are willing to accept high barrier households exiting homelessness. That includes willingness to accept housing choice vouchers. Currently, we have 97 beds in our emergency shelter system for families and 172 beds for individuals who are experiencing homelessness. Every night, all of those beds are full. When they're empty, it's usually because there's a repair being done. Permanent supportive housing, we have 357 beds available for permanent supportive housing. These do include some VASH vouchers, which are specifically targeted for veterans. And we have 182 beds available and used during the 2022 point in time count for rapid rehousing. Rapid rehousing is a short-term housing intervention that provides rental assistance for up to 2 years and supportive services for up to that 2-year period. And depending on how many people are in there, that number can ebb and flow. For the use of these ARP funds, we want to keep these in mind as we have our conversation. Home ARP funds should be used to address the priorities identified in the needs assessment process. Home ARP funds are a one-time funds which could create challenges in sustaining ongoing activities like our tenant-based rental assistance. If the funds end in 2030, what happens to the people who are receiving those funds in 2031, for instance? Funds must be used for activities within the city of Durham, and depending on the scale of activity or activities prioritized, home ARP funds may need to be combined with other funding sources. So now discussion on thoughts on how to use funds.
Thank you, and just acknowledging that we're right ahead of the closed caption break. What I'm going to do is just go ahead and take one of the public comments from Ms. Jacqueline Wagstaff, because we missed that during item 24, and then we'll hold the other comments until after our break, directly after that. So, Madam Clerk, if you could bring Jacqueline Wagstaff off of mute, that would be great. Thank you.
Can you hear me? Good afternoon, good evening.
Thank you, former Councilmember Jacqueline Wagstaff. I just wanted to give you a moment to share your comments. I know we missed them on item 24.
Right, unfortunately, at the time that you were having a conversation, I would have liked to have given those comments. But just to highlight, my name is Jacqueline Wagstaff, live in Durham. wanted to speak on the wheels. I understand, I heard some comments coming from the Mayor Pro Tem, and unfortunately, I beg to differ with him when it comes to community and how they view engagement versus how elected officials view engagement from staff. There has been several meetings with the community, Pac 1 community, and their intent tonight was not to say halt this plan. Their intent was to let you know that they had not been engaged in this process, and they have been given documents at the last minute that said they've gotten to a point where they were actually ready to agree on a contract to start the wheel development. That's fine, but they also want to be heard about the rest of the process of this continuing of the Wheels complex and how it's going to look. We know that the aquatic center is something that the former mayor initiated and he wanted, but I'm a firm believer that you need to speak with the people that have the most vested in that community. And if most of you, if you know anything about the history of Wheels, that park was a community park that was utilized by our most vulnerable population of Durham years ago. I've used it. I raised my children at Wheels. You know, I took a many summer camp kids to Wheels, and we used that park. And I actually had recently was able to go to Roxborough, like one of the speakers spoke about, and visited a complex in Roxborough called Palace Point. And I was just stunned to think that there are people in Durham now have to go all the way to drive out of Durham to go and be able to participate in activities for their kids that allows them to, you don't have a lot of funds, but it allows you to be entertain your family with the least amount of headache. And Wheels need to remain as that complex for the community of East Durham and Pac 1. So for now, I'm just gonna leave it at that until we get to the next phase. But hopefully there will be some engagement. And thank you, Madam Mayor, for actually understanding that if the community comes to you and they say they haven't been engaged, we need to be concerned about the community and how they see things. I'm not saying that, I'm not going to deny that the city has done some part, but as we know, the city is going to give you their report and then the community has their report. So thank you very much for allowing me to speak, Councilwoman Freeman and Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. And we're going to pause and return at 9:12 for our public comments on this item. Thank you.
Tell us what a social district is.
So it's a initiative that was started by the General Assembly. It was passed back in 2021, and it allows for cities to create districts where people can take cocktails, wine, beer, and leave an establishment and walk around within that district enjoying that beverage. And then based on the involvement of other businesses, they can take that alcoholic beverage into another store, into another restaurant, and it's just a way to get people moving about downtown.
I was going to ask, what are you hearing businesses say?
People being out and about that are in a positive mood and like happy, I think is good for public safety. I want people walking around downtown Durham. I want, you know, the community involved with each other. I want people meeting each other, you know, and making connections and really being a part of the community as opposed to just coming into a business and exiting downtown.
Radical reckoning. God, I could not solve all the problems, but I'm on record with you that I tried. For Ann Atwater. Poverty is to partake in tallying all that's owed, unaccounted for, past due bills, their unpaid debts. It is 8 leavened loaves until a flour sack empties to become a daughter's dress. It is what rises in you while living poor in a homeland your ancestors made wealthy. You have no name for it, surviving on domestic work, single mothering in a house that leans into the street and wind moves through. You tally up the housing improvements, they tally up the rent increase. You tally up moonlit prayers, gone unanswered, an endless measure of black madness. You tally up the times you listen, that you forgive your enemies, of freedom, of passage, of human happiness. You know suffering, how your work is a calculated survival that gives the suffering meaning, a tally that comes to this radical reckoning.
There's no place like home. Home is where the heart is.
Hey, can I help you? Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
It is our place of safety and warmth. Home is where love resides, memories are created, and laughter warms the heart. That's why the Durham Human Relations Division is committed to enforcing the Fair Housing Act, which prohibits unlawful discrimination based on race, color, disability, religion, sex, familial status, or national origin.
Here's some tips to ensure that your garbage and recycling gets picked up. 1. Your cart should be put out for collection before 6 a.m. on your collection day. 2. Your cart should be at least 3 feet from all other objects such as mailboxes, telephone poles, fire hydrants, trees, and other carts. 3. Your cart should be no more than 3 feet from the curb. 4. No vehicles should be blocking your carts. The mechanical arms on our trucks need direct access to your carts and cannot reach around vehicles. To find more information about garbage and recycling pickups, go to this web address.
Did you know the City of Durham has interpretation and translation services available? The city adopted a language access plan to provide language services and help non-English speakers have access to city services and programs without a language barrier. Through the city's language access plan, residents have the right to request interpretation and translation services free of charge, receive translation of vital documents and emergency communications in Spanish, and submit complaints of language discrimination or on the failure to adequately provide services in accordance with the city's language access plan policy. For more information on the city's language access efforts, visit durhamnc.gov/languageaccess.
What did you say? Which one?
A bachelor, okay. Me and Javon got a bachelor. Yeah, but me and Javon got have education. You apply for it.
My mom, she just quit her job. Zero spending. She said Jesus is gonna pay her bills. And 20 years later, she had zero debt. She made me a believer because that's when I found out that I was Jesus.
Hey, Madam Mayor.
We hang out. We go to an appliance store. We're leaving. We're in the parking lot. Some lady, she runs out to me. She's like, "Sir, you forgot." It wasn't mine. I just got nervous. I thought she was coming to tell me my transaction didn't go through. But instead, I got hooked up with some boomer vacuum. But then I'm like, what do I do? I don't stay on to be a role model for Stepman here. Let me handle this. I'm gonna handle this. Stepman.
Hello?
All right, everybody, we're going to come back in session now, please.
That's what my mama said.
Please leave your message for 9. Thank you, Madam Mayor. If we could return back. Thank you. And the public hearing for the use of Home American Rescue Plan ARP funds will now be open. And I have a list of folks on the line, online, who are registered to speak. I have Anthony Bagalini, I'm definitely messing that up, a Larissa Seibel, a Claudia Savara, and James Savara. And so we'll first start with Mr. Anthony Bellini.
Mr. Bellini is not online at the moment.
Oh, sorry, okay. Larissa Seibel.
Good evening. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi, thank you, Madam Council Member and Mayor and City Council. Thank you for considering the proposals for people who are homeless. All of them are needed. The one that's needed most urgently right now is the rental assistance. We have many people who are homeless, who want homes, who need homes for their health and safety. We also have, last year, we had close to 6,000 evictions filed and 1,710 people actually locked out of their homes in 2022. That was twice as many as in 2021, which was less than 3,000 people, which is still too many filings. And we need the rent assistance urgently or a guaranteed income program urgently to assist people in being able to live well and healthy in their own homes. So I hope that you will emphasize the immediate needs for folks while you are also building permanent supportive housing, which will take a few years. So I hope you will consider that in the funding priorities for people who are homeless and at risk of homelessness. Thank you so much for your consideration.
Thank you, former council member. The next person I have to speak is Claudia Savara.
Councilmember Freeman, there's an individual named James who said that he is using the registration link for Claudia Savara.
And
Would you like him to speak?
Thank you.
Claudia's name by mistake. This is Jim Savara, 12 Susanna Drive. I'm speaking as a member of the Coalition for Affordable Housing and Transit. The burden of paying rent is substantial for most extremely low-income households. The Community Development Department, as we just heard, states that 8,255 households in Durham are renters with incomes of less than 30% area median income and are spending more than half of their income on housing. That is approximately 3/5 of the renter households in this income group. We have been advocating a rental stabilization grant program using ARPA funds. In view of the county's recent commitment to promote guaranteed annual income programs, as the city already has done, we propose that the assistance to these very poor households be provided through a guaranteed income payment of $600 a month. It solves the problems of landlords who will not accept rental assistance by making payments directly to tenants. And several of you on the council have suggested using this approach. This will be a pilot program in the 2023 fiscal year using ARPA funds to provide immediate assistance and to identify ways to make the program work as effectively as possible as an ongoing program. Therefore, we are reducing the number of households we propose to assist to 500 with a cost of $4 million shared between the city and county using their ARPA funds in this first year. For these extremely poor renters, their housing is at risk because they face eviction if they are not able to pay their rent. And Larissa's numbers demonstrate how real that problem can be. But in addition, their lives are harmed by having to spend so much of their limited income on housing. The recipients of the housing assistance grants would receive $7,200 a year. They would also receive counseling and assistance in improving their household income. We have identified a nonprofit which has been involved in the Durham Emergency Rental Assistance Program and is a HUD recognized housing counseling agency that is interested in both administering the program and offering information and assistance to recipients of the guaranteed annual income. We propose that the Community Development Department include this form of housing assistance in its proposal for using Home American Rescue Plan funds. The council needs to encourage the county commission to join this program, share the cost, and orient their new guaranteed income program to target extremely low-income tenant households. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Savara. Is there anyone else online or in the audience that would like to speak on this item? If there isn't anyone else, we'll close the public hearing and turn it over to our mayor for the next item. I believe Councilmember Williams is taking on the next item. Is that item 52? And I have a card for you.
Councilmember Freeman. So I'll be facilitating Got it. Thank you, colleagues. I'll be facilitating item number 52, which is a public hearing on the approval of proposed amendments of the fiscal year 2016, 2017, 2017-18, 18-19, 19-20, 2021, 2021-22 annual action plans. Right? And we have a member of staff here. Director Johnson.
Thank you, Council Member, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council. I'm Reginald Johnson, Director of the Department of Community Development. This agenda item is a public hearing. That's a substantial amendment on the home amendments that we have from the years FY 2016, 2017, 2017, 2018, 2018, 2019, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2020, 2021, and 2021 to 2022 annual action plans. The purpose of this public hearing is to receive citizen comments on the proposed amendments to the FY 2016, 2017, FY 2017, 2018, FY 2018, 2019, FY 2019, 2020, FY 2020, 2021, and FY 2021-22 annual action plans. The city is proposing to reallocate $6,206,481.22 in home investment partnership program funds. As a recipient of home funds, the city, as a recipient of home funds, technology. As a recipient of home funds, the city is required to hold a public hearing on the reallocation of funds to the said annual action plans prior to the submission of the proposed amendments to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. The draft of proposed home amendments is available for public review from February 10th through March 12th, 2023 on the Community Development Department's webpage located on the City of Durham's website. Notice of this meeting was properly advertised in the Herald Sun and Kapasa newspapers, distributed via the department's general listserv, as well as posted on the Community Development Department's webpage in the City of Durham website. In closing, a summary of the comments of this public hearing and written comments received from citizens will be included with the submission of the proposed amendments to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Johnson. This is a public hearing. At this time, I will open it up to our community to share their comments. We'll start with residents that are in the chambers. First, I have Aisha Abdul Ali, and behind her, I will call up Tanya McCrae. If you all are in the audience, if you will come to the podium here. Could you come to the mic? Thank you. Noted. What we'll do is we'll have each person sign up to go ahead and speak. I'm not sure we can bank time. I'll consult, and we'll come back at that to that point. Tanya McRae. After would be Larry Hester and then Denise Hester.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and City Council.
And just real quick, and Madam Clerk, we have 3 minutes. Yep, 3 minutes.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and City Council. My name is Tanya McCrae, and I live at 2806 Fayetteville Street. And I'm here to speak regarding the home funds for community building. I'm here to request an alternative grant opportunity that would greatly benefit the Fayetteville Street corridor and reduce homelessness in our city. As you may know, this area has struggled to grow and prosper since it was negatively impacted by urban renewal. However, there is hope on the horizon with the availability of the Home Investment Partnership Program. Funds for the community building, this program presents a significant opportunity to invest in the Fayetteville Street corridor and revitalize this important area of our city, as well as address the issue of homelessness in our community. The HOME program can be used to fund a range of projects, including affordable housing and community centers. By investing in this area, we can create safe and affordable housing options for those experiencing homelessness, as well as provide support services to help people get back on their feet. With the HOME program, we can work towards reducing the number of people who are homeless to provide opportunities to them to regain their independence. Investing in the Fayetteville Street corridor can also have a positive impact on economic growth and job creation. As we continue to work towards building a more vibrant and connected community, we can stimulate local businesses and create new job opportunities. I strongly urge the City Council to consider the Fayetteville Street corridor for the HOME program funds and investing in our community to reduce homelessness and improve the overall well-being of our community. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Ms. McCrae. Mr. Hester, if you'll also state your name and address. 3 minutes.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. My name is Larry Hester. I live at 229 Shalimar Drive in Durham, and I'm a member of the Fayetteville Street Corridor Planning Group. I'm here tonight to ask that the unspent home funds be reallocated to the Fayetteville Street Corridor with a boundary of Pettigrew Street on the north, west along American Tobacco Trail, south to Cornwallis Road, north to Alston Avenue, and east to Bacon Street. We understand that these funds can be used to support affordable housing, senior housing, home rehabilitation, and repair. There is a severe need to help our indigenous residents repair their homes and age in place, our elderly. A home is traditionally a family's first source of wealth and the only source for many. Accumulated equity can be used for higher education, retirement, or business creation. Elders in our community were first stripped of their wealth during urban renewal, now by gentrification, and some by both due to their age. This double blow makes vulnerable residents targets for speculators and corporate buyers with the result of being another massive wealth transfer to others outside our community. And I think each of the council people, when they ride down Fayetteville Street, as proud as we are of it, you can see that there's a need for intervention. There's a severe need for resources to enable the indigenous residents to remain in their homes and not be subject to both the displacement of the past and the economic pressures of the present. We can see that many residents during the South Side development could not pay their taxes. Our once thriving, self-sufficient economy was reduced to rubble by a dividing highway, 4 remaining businesses out of 500, and 4,000 households displaced as Durham's legacy. And those 5 businesses, or 4 or 5 businesses that did survive, they had to survive in 10 City, which was a 10 building that wasn't on the street for 19 years in a building that was built for 8 months.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hester.
Excuse me?
I said thank you so much.
Oh, okay. I just had one more sentence.
One more sentence.
This council has the right, has the ability to right the ship and begin the process to ensure that the greatness of our past will be reflected in our future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hester. Denise Hester. Ms. Hester, if you can try and fit your comments in.
I'm timed.
Okay, good deal.
Good evening. My name is Denise Hester at 229 Shalimar Drive in Durham, and I'm a member of the Fayetteville Street Corridor Planning Group. We ask that unused home funds be reallocated to initiatives on the Fayetteville Street Corridor to support affordable housing, senior housing, housing rehabilitation and repair for rental and ownership. Our historic corridor has long-standing unmet needs that home funds could address. Now, none of you were in office when we presented our Fayetteville Street Master Plan back in 2005 to that City Council. Had many of our recommendations been implemented, we feel that our current conditions on our corridor would not be as severe as they are today. Nonetheless, we're here tonight again to reiterate our desire for a significant investment by our city to first preserve and rehabilitate existing housing stock, to stabilize our neighborhoods and create value for homeowners already living here, not speculators or corporate entities. A DataWorks report from 2021 stated that in Durham, 15% of homes were sold, 15% of homes sold were purchased by investors, and that corporate purchases were concentrated the most in Black neighborhoods around North Carolina Central University. Go figure. Preserving existing housing through rehabilitation creates several benefits, especially for our seniors. It prevents deterioration resulting in code enforcement, potential loss of homes, and loss of wealth. It maintains home value that creates intergenerational wealth for families. It reduces the pressure for older people to sell out and move out of their own community and allows seniors to age in place. And last, it provides jobs for local contractors and training opportunities so badly needed for our local residents. Home funds can create immediate alternatives for residents and seniors who have paid taxes all our lives, who now live on limited incomes, and who face rising taxes and gentrification. If the city is serious about increasing the supply of affordable housing, it must reallocate home funds on the Fayetteville Street Corridor to fund non-emergency repair grants that enable seniors to age in place, increase emergency grants to more residents, increase the number, capacity, and outreach to affordable housing providers, to providers indigenous to our corridor, and also establish consistency between HUD and the city CHOTO requirements, where HUD capacity and experience only require 1 year of experience serving the community, which does not have to be directly related to housing. We in the historic Fayetteville Street corridor have supported our city with taxes from residents and businesses over 100 years, and now we need the city's support to rebuild not only what was taken during urban renewal, but to withstand intense development pressure today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Hester. This is a public hearing, and since we're doing a couple of things out of order, I am guilty of that as well. I did not open it up to my colleagues initially. So are there any comments? All right. Okay, well, it is a public, I don't have it, but if we could get a yellow card, and Mr. Spalding, you can fill it out after you speak. Okay, it could have gotten mixed up, but if you will.
If I'm staggering a little bit tonight, it's not because I've been drinking, it's because I had some health problems, but I'm gonna try a few things here. My name is George Spalding. I live at 1115 Jerome Road, Durham, North Carolina. And I'm here to support the Fayetteville Street corridor. And I'm gonna state just a little bit why. In 1998, or 25 years ago, we purchased, let me find some glasses here. We purchased a men's dormitory on 3115 Fayetteville Street for transitional housing, 55 rooms and 2 apartments. Over the last 25 years, we have paid over $375,000 in property taxes. Since 1998, we have served over 2,500 adult male with transitional needs. Over 75%, or approximately 1,800 males have gone into the workforce and are tax-paying home buyers, good solid residents in Durham. And they're employees of the City of Durham, Duke University, the Research Triangle, and many other employers. If we could have or make some earmarked money and funds for Fayetteville Street, working with the City Council, we could develop transitional houses that would make the city very proud, more prouder than it is. Having never asked the city for 1 cent in the 25 years we have taken on this project. Not even trash collection. We have paid for that too. Transition houses on the long run is very unprofitable. Simply because people do not have the money. Because of the rising costs, low revenue, it will be impossible to provide these services for transitional housing very much longer. With any assistance from the home, any grants available or anything to help with this program, we would appreciate looking at it. We're in the learning stage.
Thank you.
The need for transitional housing is skyrocketing. I'm out there every day. We're looking at 6 and 7 people a week that we have to turn away because we don't have any space.
Thank you so much, Mr. Spalding.
All right, thank you very much.
Expired, and your card got mixed up, so I do have it now.
Okay. Thank you, and we thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. I received the card, Mr. Green. Where'd you go? Mr. Green? State your name and your address. You have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Marcus Green. I live at 1215 Antler Point Drive in Durham, North Carolina. I'm not going to take up the full 3 minutes, but I was sitting here in the audience. I wasn't going to speak on this matter, but Mr. Spalding kind of compelled me to speak. I currently have property on the Fayetteville Street corridor, and I'm in that area every day, and I understand that you can see the need there. And what Mr. Spalding and his group did 25 years ago, that's a case in point that a community coming together that could put together, they saw a need and they were able to really affect that need. If the city could see it in their grasp, in their preview to help the Fayetteville Street corridor help itself. The homelessness on Fayetteville Street is rampant. The drug use on Fayetteville Street is rampant. And I don't think the government is capable right now to really handle the needs of those residents, those residents along the Fayetteville Street corridor. If the city would partner with the Fayetteville Planning Group and deploy those funds along the Fayetteville Street corridor, I think alongside like what Mr. Spalding did 25 years ago, we too can do those things moving forward and really affect change along the Fayetteville Street corridor. Those funds could go a very long way to helping the lives of some of our most vulnerable along this Fayetteville Street corridor. So I just want to give those comments and give some consideration to the council. Thank you, Mayor O'Neill, Mayor Pro Tem, and the council men and women to really take some consideration along the Fayetteville Street corridor. Take a drive down Fayetteville Street sometime. Truly drive down Fayetteville Street and see what we're talking about. Fayetteville Street, as we all know, in the history of Hayti and the Fayetteville Street, it was a very proud and rich part of our community. And right now, if you come off 147, headed towards Central, if I was a parent, and I am a parent, and I'm taking my children to Central University, North Carolina Central University, I really would take pause to think that I'm gonna leave my child at Central. Because you have to drive through all this blight to get to this wonderful university, as we all know in Durham, North Carolina Central. We all love it. But to get there is a challenge. So if we can all just take a moment, we could take a group drive up Fayetteville Street and see where those funds could really have an impact. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Green, for your comments. Very well stated. This is a public hearing. Madam Clerk, do we have anyone online, or if there's anyone else in the chamber that would like to contribute to this topic?
No one has their hand raised in the virtual world.
All right, thank you so much. Colleagues, I'll bring this item back before us if any of us have any comments. If not, we can move on to the next topic. All right, then I'll declare this public hearing closed. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Council Member. We'll now turn our attention to item number 48, zoning map change, American Village Townhomes. It requires action. Yeah.
Some action, some motion.
Just asked, yeah.
Oh. My apologies. All right, we'll entertain a motion to approve the draft proposed home amendments to the fiscal year 2016, 2017, 2017, 2018, 2018, 2019, 2019, 2020, 2020 to 2021, and 2021 to 2022 annual action plans for submission to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD.
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and properly seconded. We will open the vote, please. You can close it, please.
The motion passes 7-0.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And we'll also approve, we'll also entertain a motion to authorize the city manager to execute all administrative requirements and contractual documents for the implementation of the amended fiscal year 2016, 2017, 2017, 2018, 2018 to 2019, 2019 to 2020, 2020 to 21, and 2021 to 2022 annual action plans to reallocate funding to accurately reflect how the City of Durham utilized its federal home award allocations and home program income for projects or activities that have been completed, currently in progress, and are planned using the applicable funding year allocations.
Moved as read.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Madam Clerk, if you will, please open the vote. Please close the vote.
The motion passes 7-0.
Thank you.
All right, item 48 for real this time.
For real this time.
Zoning map change, American Village Townhomes. We'll receive a report from staff. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Honorable Council Members, Andy Lester with the Planning Department. A request for a zoning map change has been received from Marie Farmer of Parker Poe for one parcel of land totaling 0.75 acres and located at 626 Maureen Road. The current zoning is residential suburban 10. The applicant proposes to change this designation to residential suburban multifamily with a text-only development plan restricting the site to a maximum of 5 townhouse units. The applicant is proposing to rezone the properties to facilitate the construction of up to 1 townhouse building with no more than 5 units. The properties are currently designated low-density residential on the future land use map. The proposed residential suburban multifamily with a text-only development plan is inconsistent with the designated future land use. If the proposed zoning is approved, staff recommends a change to the flume to designate the property as low-medium density residential, which is 4 to 8 dwelling units per acre. The zoning request was heard by Planning Commission on December 13, 2022. The Planning Commission recommended approval by a vote of 12 to 0. As a reminder, 2 motions are required for this application. The first is to approve the zoning ordinance. The second is to approve the consistency statement. Thank you, and staff and the applicant are here to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Lester, for the report. Honorable colleagues, anyone have any questions or comments for staff before we open the public hearing? All right, I'm going to officially declare this public hearing open. I have 3 cards. One of them has an address but no name on it. So if you signed the card up, signed up and I didn't call your name, that's probably your card. Rob Emerson, Josh Eggleston, but before that we'll receive a report from the applicant. Good evening.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. And I will be
How much time do you anticipate needing? I'm sorry. How much time do you anticipate needing for your presentation?
less than 5 minutes. And I will be speaking on behalf of all of the proponents, but they will be available for questions if you have any.
Got you. Let's put 5 minutes on. Thank you. Oh, these are all.
Good evening, Mayor O'Neill, Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. My name is Marie Farmer with Parker Poe, 301 Fayetteville Street, Raleigh, and along with Jamie Schwadler, I represent the developer of this small parcel, Josh Eggleston, who is a local resident and here tonight. We are also accompanied by Rob Emerson, landscape architect, to address any technical questions you may have. This request is to rezone a less than 1 acre parcel located on the corner of Maureen Road and American Drive to allow for the development of no more than 5 townhomes. As you can see from this image, this is a unique parcel with several encumbrances that constrain the allowable building area. There's an electrical transmission tower and easement on American Drive, power lines in the right-of-way on Maureen Road, and there is a city sidewalk bike lane project anticipated on Maureen Road for March of this year. Because of the unique nature and corner location of this site, townhomes make more sense than a single-family residence, which is why we are requesting to rezone the property from RS10 to RSM to allow for the development of no more than 5 townhomes. We submitted our application with a text-only development plan to limit the number of units that would be permissible on the site. During our neighborhood meeting, we received positive feedback with the hope that this project will prevent people from dumping garbage on the corner, which is apparently a problem due to the existing condition of the property. We were also recently contacted by a former neighbor who is interested in moving back to the neighborhood so he can live in one of these townhomes. The Planning Commission recommended approval of this request 12-0. In attachment F of the staff report, Chair Amendolia described this project as a good example of small-scale infill development that he hopes Durham can continue to foster. The current flume designation only allows for 4 units or less, so our request would be to amend the flume designation from low to low-medium density to allow for 5 units. This request is consistent with the draft place type map designation because allowing townhomes promotes a variety of housing types by adding townhomes to an area that currently has single-family homes and the Maureen West apartments. This is also consistent with the apartment and townhouse designation directly across the street. This designation also specifically contemplates smaller infill sites that are difficult to develop and require design flexibility, which perfectly describes this property. And as you can see from the image on the screen, the apartment and townhouse neighborhood designation is directly across the street, and neighborhood services are also located on the corner of Linden Terrace and Maureen Road, and on the corner of Andrews Road and Maureen Road. As you can see here, the existing zoning, again, is RS10, and the proposed zoning is RSM. And there is some RSM zoning that exists to the northeast. There's also office and institutional along Andrews Road. There's RUM directly across the street, and then commercial neighborhood on the corner of Linden Terrace. This request is consistent with the comprehensive plan because it will allow for contiguous infill development at a density consistent with the suburban tier and surrounding area. And finally, the property is more suitable for the proposed RSM designation than the current RS10 due to its unique nature and location, and the development of townhomes will improve the balance of uses in the area and meet demand in Durham. We thank you for your time, and we look forward to answering any questions you may have.
Thank you so much for your presentation, for being here tonight. All of the cards I have were actually participants in the project. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone in chamber or online who wishes to speak on this item that has, well, anybody who wishes to speak? All right. Madam Clerk, anyone online? Let me make sure we check. All right. Seeing that, I'm going to turn to my colleagues to see if anyone has any questions or comments for this applicant. All right, I'm going to officially declare this public hearing closed, and the matter is back before the council. This item requires 2 motions for action. I'll entertain a motion for number 1 to adopt an ordinance amending the Unified Development Ordinance by taking property out of the residential suburban 10, RS10, and establishing the same as residential suburban multifamily with a text-only development plan, RSMD, restricting the site to a maximum of 5 townhouse units.
Move.
So moved. Second.
I heard a motion from Councilmember Williams and a second from everybody. I'll see Councilmember Freeman. Madam Clerk, would you please open the vote? Please close the vote and report out.
The motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. Motion number 2 to adopt a consistency statement as required by NCGS 160D-605.
So moved.
Second.
I heard a motion from, I believe it's Councilmember Johnson or Councilmember Hyman. All right. And second from Councilmember Williams. Was this Councilmember Williams? Second. All right. Madam Clerk, would you please open the vote? Please close the vote and report out.
The second motion is unanimous.
Thank you so much. I will now yield to Councilmember Caballero to take us through item number 50.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. The next item is zoning map change, 1907 South Miami Boulevard. And first we'll hear from, get a report from staff. Thank you.
Honorable Council members, Andy Lester with the Planning Department. A request for a zoning map change has been received from Patrick Biker of Morningstar Law Group for one parcel of land totaling 0.178 acres and located at 1907 South Miami Boulevard. The current zoning is residential suburban 20. The applicant proposes adding a transitional office overlay to facilitate an office use on the property. The proposal is a general rezoning with no text or graphic development plan. The Planning Commission recommended approval by a vote of 10-2 at their December 13, 2022 meeting. The properties are currently designated office on the land use map. The proposed transitional office overlay zoning is consistent with the designated future land use. And as a reminder, 2 motions are required for this application. The first motion is to approve the zoning ordinance. The second motion is to approve the consistency statement. Thank you, staff and the applicant are here to answer any questions.
Thank you. Before I open it up for public, for the public hearing, does anyone have any questions? Any of my colleagues? Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Just verifying if there's any, any statute that would prevent having a substance use facility close to a school, elementary school, or anything of that sort?
Not that I know of.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Freeman. I'm going to declare this public hearing open. I have a few cards in front of me, and the applicant could go ahead and come up to the podium. Thank you. Could you please state your name and then just let us know how much time you think you'll need?
I'll be just a minute.
Okay, thank you.
So my name is, well, first of all, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, council members. My name is Keenan Conder, and I live at 610 West Morgan Street here in Durham. I'm an attorney for Morningstar Law Group, and I'm representing Mr. Gregory Dockery. Mr. Dockery is a certified alcohol and drug counselor registrant and is currently working as the operations director, group facilitator at Genesis Substance Abuse Services. Today, Mr. Dockery is requesting the application of the transitional office overlay to a very small property on 1907 South Miami Boulevard. This site is intended to be Genesis's new RTP location, where Mr. Dockery intends to provide substance abuse counseling services, primarily to folks who have received a DUI or other similar citations. But this counseling services also spans somewhat the gamut. So it's not just those folks who have received DUIs, although it's primarily them. And again, this transitional office overlay will facilitate that office use. And again, I want to be very brief, but before I stress the importance of Mr. Dockery's work, I just want to reiterate some of the land use considerations. First, this is, I think, an ideal spot for the transitional office overlay. The building has a residential single-family character, and that is intended to remain. It also fronts a major roadway, South Miami Boulevard. And second, as staff mentioned, this site is designated office on the future land use map, and therefore this proposal is consistent with that. And next, I want to emphasize what I think all of you know, which is the importance of Mr. Dockery's work. As I said, his clientele are primarily folks who have received DUIs and are in need of counseling. These are primarily working people who are in need of his services. And this location at 1907 South Miami Boulevard is perfect for the use that Mr. Dockery intends it for because, as I said, a lot of these folks have had their licenses taken away, and this site is both on a major road and it's also on a great transit line with protected sidewalks from which to get to his location. So overall, this rezoning will provide a critical service to Durham, and thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you so much. I have 2 cards in front of me. One of them is an opponent, and I have another one that has not stated whether they're an opponent or proponent, and that name is under Brenda Brown. Okay, thank you. At this time, are there any proponents for the case. There are no proponents, so I'm going to go ahead and move to opponents. The two that I have, if Mr. Talmadge Layton could go ahead and approach the podium. Good evening, Mr. Layton. You have 3 minutes.
Ma'am?
I said, good evening, Mr. Layton. You have 3 minutes.
3 minutes.
And the clock's right there.
I appreciate y'all taking time to listen to us today. I'll have to speak in opposition to a drug rehabilitation house being placed at 1907 Miami Boulevard. I'm a member of Bethesda Baptist Church and have been a member of our school board for many years. I think it would be a disservice to our community and a danger to our school and the children that are there every day. Our church is over 125 years old, and we've had a child care for many, many years. And our school at the church is over 25 years old, when we've had a very diverse enrollment of over 200 students. And our child care has an enrollment of over 100 children pre-COVID. I know that the penalty for dealing drugs within 1,000 feet of a school is a lot more severe than the penalty for distribution of drugs if a school is not close by. Yeah. If our courts are trying to keep drugs away from underage children, there must be a reason. In recent years, we have seen crime escalate in and around our church. We have had catalytic converters stolen off our buses. We have lost batteries out of 3 vehicles in the last year. One set was taken twice in 1 week. We have had to park our buses away from our property and remove valuables, including batteries, when not in use. We have to do more security when we have unattended vehicles in our parking lot. In my opinion, inviting people with a dependency on drugs in the vicinity of our school would increase dangers to our school-age children and make it more difficult to teach Christian values to our children in our care. Also, in the same vicinity, within 1,000 feet of this house, there is a gym that the children use. Is provided by one of our community clubs, the Ruritan Club of Bethesda, and there's also another public elementary school within 1,000 feet, which means there's 2 schools within 1,000 feet of this property. And there's also a charter school down Ellis Road, a little bit more than 1,000 yards away. And it is our belief that East Durham needs a rehabilitation place. We need a substance abuse practice, but we don't need it as close to our children as being proposed. It's just been proven that you don't need drugs in vicinity of a school. It's just such an imposition on your children. And I do thank you, and I have just a little bit more time, and I know there was a basketball game yesterday that the Tar Heels had a little bad luck over at State. So anyway, I just wanted y'all to be aware of that.
Get out of here. Get out of here.
Thank you, Mr. Layton. If Ms. Brenda Brown is next, thank you. Good evening. Could you please state your name, and you have 3 minutes.
Okay. My name is Brenda Brown. I live at 1516 Tonic Drive. I'm also assistant principal at Bethesda Christian Academy. It was very interesting when we came earlier tonight to hear so much talk about the tragedy that's just happened at Hillside, and we so empathize with that. It has broken my heart over the last few years that we're having to practice, just like every other school, lockdown drills in our schools because we never know what might happen. And I feel like that bringing the possibility, and I know from personal experience, having lived with someone who had a DWI, sometimes they do exactly what the court asks them to do. But I also know that many times they don't follow the guidelines. And just like Mr. Layton said, we have almost 300 students straight across the street, and then we have Bethesda Elementary School just within walking distance. You can see it from our school. Not sure how many students they have, but I think they're probably servicing maybe 500 or more students. And we know that not just alcohol, and I'm so glad someone is working with these and trying to provide a program to help these people who might be addicted to alcohol or drugs. It's dangerous to have the possibility of those things to be brought to our community and to make an easier access for our students to have access for that. We have students on the playground all during the day. The people coming into the facility would be able to see that. And I just think we have to do everything in our ability to protect our young people coming along beside their families and the community that's doing everything in their ability to make a difference for our young people. Thank you.
Thank you. Those are the only cards I have this evening. Since this is a public hearing, is there anyone else in the chamber who would like to speak? If you would like to speak, you can approach the podium and then fill out a speaker card afterwards. Thank you. Madam Clerk, is there anyone with their hand raised on the Zoom? Thank you. Closing the public hearing, this matter is before council. Colleagues, I don't know if anyone has any questions. Councilmember Williams, did you have a question? I wasn't sure.
Yeah, quick question. How long have you been practicing in this area, Dockery? State your name, please.
First of all, I'm sorry. First of all, my name is Greg Dockery. I live at 10 Penwick Place, Hillsborough, North Carolina. But to answer your question, I've been practicing doing this since 2009. And just for the record, I currently have a location downtown Durham and a location in Raleigh, which is across the street from a daycare and a school. We are certainly aware of the concerns that they may have, but since 2009, you can go online and see our actual reviews. They speak for themselves. These are individuals that are being court mandated to get their license restored. And so we do a wide variety of counseling. It's just not DWI and substance abuse counseling as well.
Thank you so much. Colleagues, I do look forward to supporting this case. I used to work in the office park there, and there are about 3 other agencies that do something very similar. That's been doing it for the last 15 years. And I'll also rely on the good education and safety and security that's happening at the schools around us as well. Let's rely on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Holsey-Hyman.
How are you?
I'm doing great.
So programs like this are dear to my heart because I'm a trained social worker. And I just want to say for the record that sometimes, people who are involved in substance abuse or may have DWIs, they come from all different kind of communities. And so there might be some people in that same community that might be frequenting or using your services. Absolutely. So I'm also going to be supporting this. We need more programs that are doing mental health, that are doing substance abuse counseling. There is a shortage and a barrier to sometimes services. So thank you.
Councilmember Freeman.
Thank you. I do want to just take a moment and appreciate, I'm noticing there's a number of you in the rear of this chamber who may be all together or not, but I can appreciate your concern for your students and the children in the daycare center. But I think in trying to weigh against the service that the gentleman, Mr. Dockery, is providing and, the proximity to your location, though I hear you, I think that this case I'd have to support as well. And I'd like to figure out if there's ways in which we can be supportive so that if there is any issues, because I heard about the catalytic converter and the batteries, and those are usually like the kind of beginnings of issues that you can probably address. And so if there's ways that we can talk about, whether with our police department or the sheriff's office, trying to make sure that it's addressed in a way that helps keep the children and those students safe. I want to make sure that we do that proactively. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor O'Neill, and then Councilmember Johnson. Councilmember Johnson, then Mayor Pro Tem, and then Mayor O'Neill.
Great, thank you. I'll also be supporting this case. I just wanted to thank you for the work that you're doing and just express how important I think it is for the community. The only thing that bothers me here is the fact that you had to hire a lawyer and come before us and do an entire rezoning just to have one property, have the use of one property changed. I don't know that there's any way around it, unfortunately, just given the way our laws and our zoning are set up. It's just unfortunate that you kind of had to, that you had to fall into a little bit of an expensive trap in order to continue to provide this really important service. And while I recognize, the concerns of folks in the community, I just want to be very clear that I do not believe that having gotten a DUI makes someone a danger to children. And I think that this is exactly the kind of services that we want people who may struggle with alcohol addiction or who just made a mistake one time to access. We want these folks to get counseling, to be in, to enter into recovery if they need to, so that they can continue to be healthy and productive members of our community. And I think that that's important for us to support folks in here in Durham that are doing that important work. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Councilmember Caballero. So we're neighbors. I live right around the corner from Bethesda. I live in Southeast Durham, right off of Miami. Lumley, I pass Bethesda every day. And I smile when I pass because it's a big, beautiful, powerful house. And I know this gentleman, I know his work as well. And I say this respectfully, we're not opening a crack house, we're opening a help house. It's a house of help, like yours. My suspicion is that y'all are gonna be great neighbors, and my hope is that they'll get a little extra something being in that space because of your presence and because what emanates from your building. So I look forward to supporting this.
Thank you, Mayor O'Neill.
Thank you. Having ordered literally thousands of people as a judge over 24 years to programs such as this, I can tell you that program and programs like that will save many, many thousands of lives. As a matter of fact, I would suggest to you that there are probably young people who will be attending that your schools and your church who are already having family members who are experiencing issues that they can possibly help with solving. And I too, like Mayor Pro Tem, believe that them being so close to you all and what you offer as a Baptist church, and what I know you offer because my great niece Jillian and one of your teachers, Monica, received much love and support when she was going through cancer treatment in a battle that she lost. And your church and that school stood with my family. So I know that you will do what you've always done, what I know you did for my family, and that was to be a support for those who are seeking help. I also know Mr. Dockery from his experience as a juvenile court counselor here in Durham County. He was one of the court counselors that worked when I was a district court judge for many years. And I have long admired his work ethic and his care for the young people that he had responsibility over. And I'm sad to see that he's left the court system. That was a loss, I know, to Durham County, but I'm also happy to know that you are still out there helping those who can benefit from your professional expertise. So I ask you all to be open-minded and do what you all, I know you always have done, and that is be supportive of those, especially those who really need our help in turning their lives around.
Thank you.
Your Honor, may I address them for just one moment, if that's okay with the council?
Yeah, that's okay with me.
My children actually went to your school. I'm very aware of your school. I'm very aware of your program. I think of your school in high regards. I would never, as a citizen of Durham County, put your school or any child at risk. I have 3 children of my own, and I've helped many, many kids with substance abuse problems, gang problems, and you name it. We are open. We are there to mend this, to bridge this thing, not to cause problems, but to be a problem solver. So I ask for you guys' support, and I appreciate you all coming out tonight to share your concerns. But if you give us an opportunity, I think we can make you proud. Thank you.
Thank you. If that is all, then I will accept. Oh, thank you. I got to close the, no, I closed it already. The first motion is to adopt an ordinance amending the Unified Development Ordinance by taking property out of the residential suburban /20 RS -20 and establishing the same as residential suburban -20 RS20 transitional office overlay TO.
So moved.
I heard a motion from Mayor Pro Tem and a second from Councilmember Holsey Hyman. Madam Clerk, could you please open the vote? Could you please close the vote?
The motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. The second motion that we need to take up is to adopt a consistency statement as required by NCGS 160D-605.
So moved.
Moved.
Second.
I got a motion from Councilmember Holsey Hyman and a second from Councilmember Williams. Madam Clerk, could you please open the vote? Could you please close the vote?
Second motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm going to pass it back to you.
Thank you so much, and thank you to each of my colleagues tonight for a lively meeting. I think now we are at supplemental items. Are there any? Thank you, Mr. Dockery. Are there any other supplemental items? All right. Are there any other matters to come before the council tonight?
Madam Mayor, I sort of on my heart to say this, just for us as a body, just regarding the comments earlier, and I wanted us to get through the meeting tonight, I think it's extremely, one of the most important, if not the most important thing we need to do is listen and hear our residents and our community members speak. But I also think it's really important for us to not only hear or listen, but also inform, and in the most respectful way. So if there's ever a matter in which a community member comes to the public domain, one, I'm going to listen. I'm going to always hear what they have to say and listen to what they have to say. But if I know for a fact, and especially if I've been engaged in it, that things are inaccurate, then I'm going to address that. And I just think that that's fair for all of us. So I just wanted to make sure I put that on the record tonight.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Williams. I think I appreciate the chance to reflect. I think what I'm getting most frustrated with, especially where it concerns folks like Mr. Chavis and other folks in the community who I continue to hear this kind of overwhelming disrespect for. It's too much. And I don't know how to make sure that staff gets this point, but it's not okay to disregard folks because you don't want to hear what they have to say. So there's one thing for things to be inaccurate, and I can tell you, I sat in a room for 2.5 hours. I didn't get to that Northgate meeting because I was sitting over there with them, trying to make sure they understood exactly what we're trying to do, which was just get the contract for the architect in order to get to the point where we move to having the conversation about what would actually be in that facility. But the frustration levels of those folks who were in the room, and it wasn't just Mr. Chavis. There were at least 8 to 10 other people who expressed overwhelmingly that they were not being heard. And it's frustrating to have to do that, knowing that my staff, the city staff, so our staff, the city attorney, the clerk, and the city manager lead in their offices. And if their staff continues to think that it's okay to disregard folks because, you know, they're just one of 5 or one of 6, it just doesn't send the right message. And I'm not ever going to be okay with that. And I can honestly say that if it comes across as disrespectful, it's meant to, because I'm tired of it.
And that's noted. You and I sat in the same room, and we may have had different outcomes in one of the PAC 1 meetings. And I'm not talking about just tonight. This is just really as a practice. The public domain must be appreciated, but it also must be protected. So it's not just Mr. Chavis, and it's not just anyone else, but we do have a haywire. We have folks emailing us right now about we should vote down the Northgate project, and it hasn't even been applied to. You know, so what I'm saying, we're not only here to just listen and hear, we also have to inform. And we have a due diligence to have fidelity to the public domain. And that's what I'm getting at. That should be a cultural practice amongst this council. And that goes for anyone that's coming in here to speak.
I appreciate that. And I just want to just add on to that and saying that you should assume that that is what is occurring, but it's out of frustration that folks are still pushing.
Noted.
And I know specifically in that Northgate situation, this is 3-4 years of folks trying to get their voices heard. And you're just navigating step by step. But I can appreciate the frustration on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I appreciate my colleagues. I think this is an important exchange. I just want to, say, everybody up here, all of you are prominent people in our community. Each of you literally have had thousands of people support you. But with that, I don't think any one of us can grab 4 or 5 of our friends, walk into a room and say, we're the community. And Councilmember Freeman, I think you used an important phraseology. You said other folks in the community. There are folks in the community whose voices are important. There are some who are more vocal than others, who are insistent more than others, the same people, you can almost name them. But I think we have to be very careful from putting the mantle of the community on 7 people when there's 300,000 people in this city. And I always say all the time, leadership is a Latin word for sometimes you have to piss your friends off. And sometimes telling them the truth may be uncomfortable, but that's, that just comes with leadership. And again, if there are staff members that because you've done it again, if there are staff members who are disrespecting folk, and we can document that, then we should, as a council, we should direct our city manager to take action. But this kind of vague, abstract, vaporous kind of references out there without, the burden on us is higher than just a member of the public just talking. There's a higher burden on us. And I think it's incumbent upon us to govern ourselves and be judicious with our language, particularly about the people who work for us. We're at the top of the org chart. And if there are specific cases, but I hear, 5 or 6 people being given the badge of the community. Any one of us, we all have hundreds, thousands of people that support us, but we still don't get to say, I speak for the entire community. And I just think we just have to be very careful of that. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Hi. Again, very good discussion. I think that what I love about Durham is that we do have residents that want to speak up and want to come out and want to get involved. And sometimes you have key people who are the leaders in the community. So like Mr. Chavis, I went to the PAC Saturday and there's a lot of people in the room, and he's the spokesperson. So he's bringing back what the people in the room are saying. But I think that we have to get better as in communication. I think that's what they're asking for. And so I think we all have to be able to, and I think another thing that kind of upsets me sometimes is when residents do come and they speak their mind, sometimes I feel like some of us put them on like they're on trial. And basically, they're coming to talk about what their concerns are, what what they want us to work on, and we work for the people. So I think it's a twofold. I think we have to embrace the fact that they're coming out and they're being involved, because other places they don't do that. But I also give them the respect to, sometimes they don't even understand, because some of the stuff I don't understand. I have to still go back and read it 10 times. So again, like Councilman Williams is saying, kind of educate them about it. But again, giving them that level of respect to be heard and not put them on a trial and not say A, B, C, and D about, this is wrong, that's wrong, because they don't have to come here. They are wanting to be involved in their community. So I just would like us to continue to give our residents respect. Whatever the communication lack is, we need to adhere to that. And as you say, Mayor Pro Tem, if there are staff members that are not doing A, B, C, and D, that we have to hold them accountable. But we are working for the residents, and they should be able to come here and voice their opinion, whether we agree with it or not, and not make them feel like sometimes they're on trial.
I just wanted to remind my colleagues that this item is on our work session because we were getting a presentation. And so I would, I was just saying that this item is actually on our work session as a presentation, so we have ample time to talk about it on Thursday. And I know it's late, so that's all. So I was just, if there was going to be another round of discussion, I was going to ask us to please hold it for the presentation on Thursday where it's relevant. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that being said, I agree totally. We have done our part. It's been a really, really great council and engaged council meeting. I apologize for any missteps that I may have made, but I take full responsibility for being out of order. This is for HUD, for being out of order with HUD, and they can come see me if a 2-minute comment by a citizen kind of gets this flurry of activity that I've kind of not seen before, but I am big enough to own it. I own it. They can come see me if they have a problem. And with that being said, good night. 10:26, we are adjourned. But we're doing something different.